This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is a Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today, we are doing our mock draft 2.0. We are back. That was really douchey of me. Mock draft 2.0. We are also going to throw in Wet Boys there, but we're super excited to be back in the mock draft business. And the more we look into this, the more you guys did a big board on the Frontside Podcast. The more we spent a week on this, the more I'm realizing this draft class isn't so great. And last year was pretty damn special.
A little bit.
Last year was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and we look back at the year before, the year prior, 2016, like the first time we all did a mock draft together on the podcast. Like that year was super special. Like, because I mean, it was our first year, and then we also had the Markelle versus Lonzo stuff, and that draft class has kind of lost a little bit of shine just because Markelle hasn't been playing, Lonzo hasn't been great, Josh Jackson hasn't been great, but still, like
JT though.
JT.
But JT though.
And Don Mitch too. But that one was a fun draft class, and obviously there was plenty of talent going into the 12th pick. But right now, it doesn't feel like that's really happening, and we suffer a couple losses, especially with Bol being injured. But we'll talk all about that, and we'll also do our Wet Boys, our weekly segment, or we're probably just going to have to name it to the James Harden segment.
I can't help it.
What, this is 3 straight weeks?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
Let's hope we get the double.
But before we get into that, please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We got our audio downloads listen for the year 2018. We had our best year, wasn't even close, and that's all thanks to everyone who listens on iTunes, everyone who listens on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, any podcasting service out there that we're available on. It's all thanks to you, so we want to thank you for that. And if again you are on iTunes, you do have the time, please rate us 5 stars. It means an absolute ton to us. So if you do have that opportunity, please take the time out of your day and do that for us. We greatly appreciate if you do that. And if you do it, tweet at us that you gave us that review. I'll retweet you. I'll talk to you. I'll give you a big thanks too, because we truly do appreciate it. But let's jump into Wet Boys. We're talking about the soggiest of shooters, the dampest of dudes, the wettest of boys, the moistest of men as well.
You said the title in the...
I got to get back in the swing of things. I've been off for about a month now. But we're getting into the guys that absolutely balled off over the past week, the guys who had fantastic outings, historic performances, and I'll start off this week. Weirdly enough, because we talk about historic performances, and I got to give a shout out to my boy, Jusuf Nurkic. 20 points per game over the past 3 games, 13 total rebounds, 6 assists, 57% from the field, 79% from the line. Not the best candidate out there because, like Ricky said, he was thinking about a guy like Luka Doncic out there. A lot of great games. Gordon Hayward was out there. He dropped 36 on like 11 or 14 shooting.
Yeah.
But Jusuf Nurkic not only won this game, but against the Sacramento Kings, but he had a 5x5, 24 points, 23 boards, 7 assists, 5 steals, 5 blocks. Shout out to Jusuf Nurkic. That's the second 5x5 this year. Anthony Davis actually had one against Philly back on November 11th, or November 21st. 12 points, 16 boards, 6 assists, 5 blocks, 5 steals. They lost that game, and he got destroyed by Joel Embiid. So much that NBAHoopsOnline.com, the one that follows all my 5x5s, does not have AD on there. They do have Nurkic on there.
It might have been like a stat correction one. I don't know.
They do not have Anthony Davis on there, though. So shout out to Nurkic. I guess the only legit 5x5 this year. So Nurkic gets a Wet Boy. But Ricky, we'll go to you.
Well, I was going to say that with mine, I was thinking go to Dave first, but I'll go to mine. Karl Anthony Towns. I had basically 3 in my head.
Sure.
Luka was 1 because the movie had on playoff P, like shaking him out of his shoes. And then my favorite thing of Luka this week is he sees himself on the board and just gives a little golf clap, just a little clap. I have to apologize to Luka. I hated on him all through the draft process.
What happens when it...
Well, he proved me wrong, and now I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the Luka. I'm enjoying the Luka Doncic.
Just say what we're all thinking.
I mean, I didn't say that. I would never say that. But basically, it was Luka.
The line's 3 feet further back.
Joe was my second one. Almost gave it to Embiid, but I like Karl Anthony Towns averaging a double-double this week with 16 boards, 30 points, shooting a ridiculous clip from not just the field, but from 3 as well. Got to keep the T-Wolf train going. Derek got it last week. Carl's going to get this week.
And also, Cat was massively locked in defensively, too. He bullied the shit out of the Miami team so much that he was very close to getting a 5x5 as well. He was like 2 steals away or something like that because he had 34 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 6 blocks. So he was a monster.
He's inconsistently incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And he's never locked in, but when he is, he's very scary.
Yeah, it's unprecedented how efficient he is for a fucking big man. I never get over it.
Yeah, he's insane. I mean, we talked about this last year. He was like one of 17 players to shoot 50, 45, and 90% or 85% from 3, and it was like incredible.
Great company.
Yeah, I mean, he's massively efficient, still super young, and also just shout out to Luka too. I mean, he's a highlight machine. And like
those step backs, just all day.
Insane. In the past 3 games, 20 points, 44% from the field, 41% from 3. 83% from the line, 6 boards, 5 assists. Insane. Awesome kid.
Yeah. All love to him.
Give us your weapon.
Unfortunately, I'm just going with the easy one because James Harden, for once, beat the refs. James Harden usually gets the ref assist. Now he beats the refs. Like, look, James Harden popped off again this week, putting up 43, 11, and 10. No big deal. Just shooting 41% from the field, 44% from 3 on volume shooting. Did I mention volume shooting from 3? Because the man's a fucking trebuchet out there. Like, it's just so many shots.
I don't know. He's a marksman. He was a sniper last night.
He was a sniper, but I'm just saying, like, the amount of shots he's taking is insane, but he's doing everything this Rockets team needs because they don't have a second star in Chris Paul because he's hurt all the damn time.
Well, and here's the talk now. He's now leader in the clubhouse. He's got 4 wet boys. AD has 3. D-Rose has 3. LeBron and Steph have 2, along with KD, who has 2. Looking at that leaderboard, James Harden obviously has 4, and I think he has 4 in the past month or something like that.
3 in the past 3 weeks.
We look at AD, what he did last year. He took a massive run last year in the second half when DeMarcus went out. Is this just a run, or is he going to dominate the wet boys? Is this going to be like LeBron James last year?
I was looking at it, though, because, like, AD is tied with or almost tied with the most that he had last year. He only had 4. Harden has now surpassed all of his wet boys from last year. He only had it with 3.
Well, he's tied
Our
with
MVP last year at 3.
He was tied last year with. I mean, that doesn't matter because Giannis is probably still our
with
MVP. Well,
Joe.
It's Harden versus Giannis.
I'm about
right
to
now.
drop that one. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Harden versus Giannis right now. But I mean, Giannis hasn't gotten a ton of wet boy love.
Yeah, he's just trashing terrible teams in the East.
I mean, Giannis only got 2 last year too.
Well, what I was saying is AD last year, who came in second, is at 4. James Harden's already at 4. So that was the point I was making.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that I was looking at that is kind of surreal is last year we had a total of 44 players get at least 1 wet boy odd. You say that, we're already at 28. Well, 27 because we had a team last year. We have a team this year. So we're already at 27. If we continue the pace, I think that we could have more wet boys than we had last year.
I love the show. I love giving out wet boys to like guys who don't get the praise nationally. But like what James Harden is doing,
you just have Michael Beasley at wet boy last year.
I think that was you. I think that was Dave. Be easy.
I was looking at this Gerald Green, Vince Carter. I think I gave BC that one. Isaiah Thomas.
I'm pretty sure I gave BC one.
Dorian Prince too.
He was a monster for the Knicks. He was shooting so efficiently. He came and he won them a game. Had to give him props.
I forgot Nick Collison was a wet boy too last year.
He retired.
But yeah, no, I mean it's a fun award. We have 28 right now compared to 45, so I think we're on pace to surpass that.
Have we had a doubled up week ever in wet boy history? Like 2 people giving wet boy to 1 person?
No, see, I don't like that. Like you and him,
would both give it to like Harden for a week.
No, we can't. That's not allowed in the rules.
If it were allowed, do you think James Harden would have warranted it in the last 3 weeks? Any of the 3 weeks?
No, I think
me personally, I wouldn't have done it because I like to spread the love.
I think
but from a deserving standpoint, 43 fucking points in a triple-double.
I see, but it's the thing where it's like, I'm not disagreeing with that. It was like, it's not a full triple-double because it was like 9.7.
You round up. Fair enough.
I mean, close enough. But I think for us to ever think we need to double up, it needs to, we did double up. Didn't we last year during the postseason?
Postseason,
you two
did. Field, though.
I didn't. I didn't agree with it.
I think that's the thing is like it has to be historic in the postseason.
Fair enough.
I think that's the only way, because like right now the field's too massive. I mean, we're talking about guys that should have gotten wet boys, and
True.
Harden's out here dominating, and unless someone drops like 150 in a week, like I think that's going to be the only way someone gets that.
It's not too far off.
Also,
No, like 100 points in a game, and then 50 points in a game.
Oh, it's only 2 games.
Yeah, or like,
okay.
and then like 25. Like it's got to be something stupid.
All right.
Also, I found it. Dave did give Be Easy
He
his wet
deserved
boy.
it.
He had 28.3 points per game. This is before you were rounding up on the sheets.
Nice.
28.3.
It saves more space.
A 8.7 rebounds per game, 1.3 blocks, 57% from the field, 71 from 3.
He was on fire.
Did you find that in the email? Or did you
No, I
first
found I went to the video.
Oh,
I gave
okay.
it to Kyle Kuzma. You gave it to DeMar DeRozan that week.
Nice.
DeRozan, triple-double.
Yeah, and also Kawhi getting booed and getting called the traitor by San Antonio. So shout out to San Antonio fans. I know you like.
But he's not. But he's
I know I
not a
liked you for a reason.
snake. He's not a snake like KD.
Yeah, Toronto just giving up another historic night to another player. That's all they do.
And obviously the most historic of that would be Kobe's 81. Shout out Jalen Rose.
Absolutely.
But let's get into our fantasy update. Boys, Rome is falling. We are down to 80 points in 6th place. I'm going to check and make sure that's not all from today. It's not. We've only lost 1 point from today. We have 80 points. Chicago Pizza Makers at 83. Super Hippo at 86. So, damn, that's a huge rise for Kyle. Team Grantham at 90.5. Big Ballers at 100. And Philadelphia 0-76ers still. Our boy Kyle Craig sitting at 104.5. We have fallen in field goals made. We are now 6th. Field goal percentage, we have dropped a ton. Someone on our team became a chucker. Might be Justin Holiday.
Now he's going to the Grease.
Yeah, so maybe
His shot attempts will go down at least.
Yeah, and maybe he kind of gets that field goal percentage up. But right now,
we can hope.
We are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th place in field goal percentage. Still bottom 3rd in free throw percentage. That has not moved. So we're not tanking in that. No. We're not getting worse. 3-pointers made, we are 5th.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, 5th. 3-point percentage, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. Rebounds, we are in 2nd. Assists, we are in 3rd. Steals, we are in 3rd. Blocks, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. And points, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6th. So
not bad.
I mean, we need to make a little bit of a push. I know you guys probably did not check out the free agents.
Totally didn't.
John Wall, obviously a free agent. He's injured. We're not picking him up. Batum's a free agent. He's been playing decently recently. Didn't mean to rhyme there. But he's been shooting efficiently. He's only been averaging like 8 points. He doesn't put up a ton of points. Mm-hmm. He gets some blocks and steals. There's no one really jumping out to me. I mean, do you think there's any place that we should attack? I mean, looking at the most added player in basketball leagues in ESPN, like the 8th person is Meta World Peace. So really can't trust anything from this site.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I don't honestly know that there is one unless you think that like the Bulls are suddenly going to not sour on Jabari Parker all of a sudden.
I mean, what did you say again is what we really need? What would you
field goal percentage is has dipped.
Jabari's at 45% from the field, and he's making about 6 a game. I mean, is it better than Justin Holiday though?
What is Justin?
Justin gets us the threes though.
Yeah, and he also does steals and blocks too.
Yeah.
And I would like to see how he goes and plays on a defensive team, because maybe that even goes up a little bit more because he'll get more opportunities. And obviously he's playing with Conley, he's playing with Gasol, he's playing with Jaren Jackson, so seeing that might give him a little bit of a boost. And steals, he's still been good. I mean, like before he got traded against Toronto, he had 4 steals. Against Washington, he had 3 steals. So I think the biggest thing with him is just shooting. I think field goal percentage, I think if we go after that, we'd probably have to look after bigs just to kind of bump that up a little bit. A guy that I would probably look at that's making a lot would maybe be like Rashawn Holmes, who's shooting 67.
He's got great energy off that bench.
Yeah, 3.1 shots a game. I mean, that might just bump us up a ton. I don't really see any like massive field goals made with a great percentage.
Is there a reason why people are dropping Batum? recent? Because like I'm looking
Because
at
he doesn't put up a ton.
well, I'm just looking at like his field goal percentage is 3-point percentage 40 is
but
not
it's
terrible.
not a good. It's not a good volume. Like he's only making like 1 or 2 a game.
Okay.
So like even though he's a fine percentage player, he's not getting a ton of minutes because he's a bad basketball player. And like he's putting up like he's a better fantasy player weirdly enough than he is an actual basketball player. Like the Hornets do not trust him. They do not play him a ton. So like then you look at like maybe Jeff Green, who's shooting 49% on 4 attempts and like four made a game. Each one more 5.4 and 48% from the field. But that's the only thing is like if we probably need someone who can make a ton of shots and then also at a high percentage. So we're either looking at a guard who's driving to the rim like in each one more, or like from the outside uncontested because he's got AD on his team, or just a big who's mainly around the net like Rashawn Holmes. So
yeah, I think Rashawn Holmes is one that interests me probably the most. I don't know that I kind of want to see what Justin does on the Grizz before we move on from him. Is that weird of me? Am I lingering too much on him?
I agree with that. Because, I mean, he was really, really good.
He hit a really hot streak.
Yeah, and maybe that was just a hot streak. And
but
also,
now,
Otto Porter's been horrible. So, and we still have him on our team. Like, I'm more willing to get away from Otto Porter, but also Otto Porter has been injured. He's only played 2 games back. So, I don't know. I worry
See him without John Wall, everybody eats, right?
Yeah.
That's the...
And we're still hoping for DeMarcus to come back, too. Danny Green hasn't been good. I'd be fine moving away from Danny Green. He has not been able to shoot the ball. So maybe just drop Danny Green and pick up like Rashawn Holmes or each one.
That one could be interesting.
Okay. So let's do that. There we go.
Works for me.
That's our move. Let us know if you have any ideas of what we should do for our fantasy team, and if we should be picking up a different player, if we should be making some trades. We don't want to be in 6th. We want to get back up to the top 4. It felt good to be close to the king.
Yeah. We got pretty close to the sun.
Yeah. I mean, well, we got up to like 88 points, which was close to 3rd. I want to at least be 3rd at some point this year. So if everyone wants to tank, that'd be cool too.
If you ain't first, you're last. That's how I look at it.
We should do this. Last. If you are, if you're not us and you win the league, you don't get a 1st round, 2nd round, or 3rd round draft pick next year.
Yikes.
So it's just tank. Just tank. It's fine. Just tank and you'll be great.
But not us. So if we win the league, we still get
But if we win the league, we get everything. We get actually every 1st round pick. But let's move on into our mock draft 2.0. We're going to obviously start off 1 through 10, then go 11 through 20, and then go 21 through 30. We're going to start with Ricky, then go to Dave, and then go to me, obviously giving our top 10 picks for all of these teams. This is the draft standing, according to Tankathon.com, as of January 4th. If it's not right at the time you're watching, we are sorry. Hopefully Mock Draft 3.0 is out. Ricky, start us off.
Well, starting off at number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know we talked a bunch about them. They're going to go with Zion. They're going to just take Zion at number 1. Then number 2, the Suns. They're going to go Ja Morant, guard from Murray State. Knicks at 3 going R.J. Barrett, the second Dookie, off the board. The Bulls, they get a gift then. They get Cam Reddish, the third Dookie, to fall right to them at number 4. Number 5, the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to go with Jarrett Culver, the guard from Texas Tech. Then the Wizards at 6 go Kevin Porter Jr., guard from Southern Cal. The Pelicans will go Keldon Johnson, guard forward from the Kentucky Wildcats. T-Wolves at 8, they're going to go DeAndre Hunter. Thibodeau getting the defensive guy at the 2 or the 3 from Virginia. Then the Magic at 9 will go Rui Hachimura, the forward from the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And rounding out my top 10, Romeo Langford, the guard from the Indiana Hoosiers, to the Nets.
I'm really proud of you that you pronounced that name right.
Well, I mean, yeah, I thought about it. I had to really give the mental brain power for it.
And we're not talking about one of the difficult ones.
No,
we're talking about Jarrett Culver.
Well, because
he was saying Culver.
I got in a habit of saying Culver to where if I don't think about it, it just comes out like that.
Travels.
It just comes out like that unless I really focus. Like, no, you're saying it wrong.
Congratulations, Ricky. Dave, give us your 1 through 10.
Sure thing. With my number 1 overall pick, I've got the Cavs going Zion Williamson as a surprise to absolutely no one. With 2, I've got the Suns going Ja Morant. At 3, I've got the Knicks taking R.J. Barrett. At 4, I've got the Bulls going Cam Reddish. At 5, I've got the Hawks taking Kevin Porter Jr. At 6, I've got the Wizards going Nasir Little, as a surprise to some who listened to me rant about the boy for like way too long last week. Sorry about that. At 7, I've got the Pelicans going with DeAndre Hunter. 8, I've got the Magic. This is the rule. I've just got to stop. This is the rule of the mock drafts: is the Magic must always mock a point guard. It was the rule last year. They didn't listen.
With Trae Young?
We'll see. We'll see, though. But this year I've got them going with Darius Garland. At number 9, I've got the Nets going Rui. And at 10, I've got the Jazz taking Keldon Johnson.
You skipped the Pelicans.
I totally did. Jared Culver.
Jared Culver, and
He's
then
in there.
everything you said after.
You'll figure it out.
And
He's on the side of the screen, one or the other.
Yeah.
the one thing with the Magic too is we'll talk about this guy a little bit later because I feel like we talked about him. You talked about him a little bit in 1.0, but he's gotten really interesting.
Yeah.
KZ Okpala of Stanford used to be a guard, and like you said, he grew 10 inches.
Yep.
That's a guy for the Magic because they're like, well, he used to be a point guard, so now we'll just force him to play point guard because he's tall and long.
Because he's 6'8". And
Our boy Vegberg, I don't know if he still listens or not, but if you want to follow him at Magic Vegberg on Twitter, he's I think he's Norway. I think he's how do you say Norwegian. Thank you. I think he's a Norwegian Magic fan. If I'm wrong about that, Vegberg, I apologize, but I think he's Norwegian. But he Googled campaign wingspan. It's like 6'4", 7 feet long. He's like, oh well, he's Magic now. We need a point guard. It made me laugh. Anyways, let's get into my top 10. Number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers taking Zion Williamson, which seems unfair. 2, the Phoenix Suns taking R.J. Barrett out of Duke. 3, the New York Knicks taking Ja Morant out of Murray State. 4, the Chicago Bulls taking Cam Reddish out of Duke. 5, the Hawks taking Nasir Little out of UNC. 6, the Wizards taking Romeo Langford out of Indiana. 7, the Pelicans taking Jarrett Culver out of Texas Tech. At 8, we have the T-Wolves taking the forward, DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia. Forgot how to do this for a second. 9, the Magic taking a guard, Kevin Porter out of USC. And at 10, the Nets taking Hachimura from Gonzaga. Anyways,
They get a
let's
little
jump
annoyed
in.
when we get that wrong.
I know, so let's just jump in. I said it any possible.
Yeah, I know.
The Bulldogs.
Covered it.
Let's jump into the first pick, though. The Cavs. We all have Zion Williamson going to the Cavs. I said it's unfair because, again, it's just the Cavs getting another number 1 overall pick and possibly getting another superstar. It feels like if this happens, like the Colts getting Andrew Luck right after Peyton Manning left.
No, it kind of is. And like I was thinking about this pick coming in, and it's like it's not fair to Zion because of like obviously being what he's doing. He deserves some sort of praise, even if you think he might be overhyped. But like coming into this mock draft, I was like, really, if you want to hear what we thought about this and the Cavs, we talked about it like what last week, 2 weeks ago,
Gave
and
you a
like
half
this is like the only pick where it's like, yep, it's Zion. If you want to know anything else, we already talked about it.
No one in the world has anyone other than Zion as their number 1 pick right now.
And well, that's not true. I saw a couple that have RJ still.
Well, they're wrong.
But and also the thing too is like everyone has a take on Zion, and you've heard everything about it. Like, yes, he cannot shoot. Yes, he's the most athletic player we've probably seen in college in a very long time, if not ever. He's a freak athlete, can play defense as a human highlight reel. Like, there's not much else. We will not know more about Zion until we see him play an NBA game.
I want to ask you what
Unless he starts magically going like 7 of 14 from 3.
I hope he shoots.
I want to ask you what I asked Dave on the billboard because we talked about
billboard?
the big board.
The Billboard Top 40.
The big board for the NBA draft was, is Zion overhyped? Like, are we overhyping Zion at this
I
point?
think in ways, yes, because he's like extremely fun, and then you get media saturation where people get sick of him. I think that is definitely, that happens with most superstars, and I think already he is a superstar, at least in the college basketball world.
Yeah.
So I think he's maybe not over. I feel like when I say overhyped, people might think he's overrated. I don't think we're overrating his athletic ability. I don't think we're overrating him as a basketball prospect. But I think some people might say, oh, he's the next LeBron James, and then take it at he has as much basketball skill as LeBron James, which is nowhere near true. Even as comparing them as coming into the NBA. LeBron James was a much more skilled basketball player than Zion Williamson might ever be. Like, LeBron was a next level gifted athlete and basketball player. That's the reason why he is, in arguments for the greatest player of all time. I do not think Zion's ever going to get to that level. However, he does have as much athleticism, most likely, as young LeBron did. So that comparison is fair. Now he's got to be able to take that and turn it into basketball skills. And there are the frameworks of that, and that's why he's going number 1. It's not just because of that athleticism. We talked a little bit before that he's very similar to Hamidou Diallo, but if he was just a bowling ball, and 6'7" on steroids. But he has more basketball prowess and basketball skills than Hamidou Diallo did. I mean, he has the ability to dribble. He has the ability to pass the ball. He has the ability to drive. He obviously has a ton of strength and draw contact. He's not the worst free throw shooter in the world. He doesn't have a shot from the outside, but I don't think that's too damaging. And also, he's a pretty good defender. Like, he has good positioning down low. He has good positioning in the perimeter. Obviously, he can time blocks very well. He can steal the ball. He can lead the fast break. He's got much more basketball sense than a Hamidou Diallo ever has.
Yep.
So I think everyone's going to get annoyed with him. I think people are going to be oversaturated by him. Obviously, people have seen, like, it's North Carolina versus Harvard, but let's pull in the sidebar of the top 3 Duke freshmen. Like, people are going to get annoyed with Zion, but I don't think that means we're overselling him. He's going to be a project. He's going to be someone who doesn't step in right away, but
That's
he
exactly
does
what I
have
was going to ask you.
He does have the ability to be a freak.
Do you think that his rookie year, and I know we're going a little off, but like, do you think his rookie year when he comes in, that the expectation for him to put up like 15, 7, and
I think it's
2.
more than that.
You think it's higher than that?
Yeah, definitely more than 2 assists.
Okay.
And definitely more than 7 rebounds.
Okay.
I think immediately people are going to expect him to be a double-double machine, which I think is honestly possible. I think him getting 10 and like 5 a game is definitely possible.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think he's going to score.
Do you see
15
stat line
points a game.
closer to like what Draymond had done in previous years? Like when he had more usage?
Maybe. Like, I just don't know if he goes to Cleveland especially.
Yeah, that's what I'm
he'll
mocking,
be
because you
able
have
to
Kevin Love out
score.
there potentially still, and he's a very good rebounder.
Yeah, but now there's talks that he might leave. Like, he might get traded.
True.
Because his trade exception or whatever, his trade deadline since he signed that extension is coming up January 15th. And teams are curious about if he's available, do they trade him? I think the Jazz are a team that could be interesting, especially with Favors' contract. They can possibly make money work, and then bring in K-Love to stretch out that floor, give more space to Don Mitch. Yeah, I think that's a team that people are thinking, possibly the Cavs unloading that. If they don't have a Kevin Love, I just don't understand how he scores, because then you have a guard, Colin Sexton, who's not a facilitator.
Yep.
And offensively, outside of that, Zion's most likely going to need to be the facilitator. So then maybe we see more spikes in his assists, but I don't understand, outside of him taking the ball off the bounce and dribbling in and attacking the basket, how he's going to score. But then again, is his body going to be able to hold up doing that 82 games in a rookie season? And obviously he's got the strength, but one bad landing could just totally ruin that. So I don't know what he's going to be like as a scorer coming into the NBA, and he might have games where he puts up like 30 points a game because he's just.
Do you think that is realistic? Like, he can have 30-point games his first year? Because I don't know that his scoring cap is that high. Or I don't want to put a cap on anybody, but like,
that's the thing, is I don't want to put a cap on him, especially because people doubted him from high school to college, and obviously he's proving everyone wrong. So he can make that jump to the NBA. I just worry about like what he's going to be like his rookie year, because at his top, I think he can be a 20-point game scorer, and I think he can be a 12 rebound guy a night, and a 5 assist guy a night. I think he can be that at his top. But what is his top? How soon will he reach his top? And can he step in right away and do that? I don't think he's going to have a Luka type rookie season. But I think he's going to have a pretty decent rookie season just because of his athleticism alone.
Nice.
I think that's going to make his transition to the NBA easier because he does have basketball skills.
Well, and I know this gets a little bit away from it, but like you mentioned the Jazz, the other interesting thing is, let's say the Cavs do move Love to the Jazz, would this year's first rounder be in that? And if, let's say it is, K-Love helps them win a couple games, they could even be in it, them being the Cavs, could be in the territory of Zion #1, take a point guard later on, because like they are at 11 now. If they go into the mid-teens, that could be Darius Garland area to where, I mean, they could take him. They could take a Trey Jones.
But you just took a point guard in Colin Sexton.
No, I'm just
so
saying,
I don't know how
I'm
that
saying
would work.
if the people are like, because if you're sold on Sexton, if you're not, even with Sexton there, he could totally put 30 points up, because, I mean, DeAndre Ayton did it, and he's got Devin Booker on his team. So, I mean, there's...
Yeah, but Booker averages 7 a game.
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying he's a #1.
For sure, like, average 30 a game, but he could get a 30-point game in the NBA at some point.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just like his athleticism. If he's playing like a slow like Grizzlies team, he can attack the bucket and like attack. I think he has.
Put him
the
in
ability.
that whole. Basically, you need to just take the playbook from the Lakers and move it to the Cavs. That's what they want to do anyway. They just reminisce of the LeBron days. And there's like, we'll just fast break. Don't care. We'll get the ball, and he's just going to run up the court, and no one's going to get in front of him.
And the other thing, too, just quickly on that Ayton thing about getting 30 points, he also has Igor as a coach who's an offensive-minded coach. And when I said Devin Booker's a 1, I meant as in, like, Devin Booker's not a 1. As in the position spot.
And I mean,
he's not a traditional point guard. I'm not really sold on his facilitating as a point guard role. I think he's a good passer. I think he can run an offense at times, but I don't think he's a true point guard. That's what I meant is that I think he could be a number one option on a team, though. I don't want people to mess that up.
Ayton is so much more gifted offensively than he is.
He's also got, 5 inches on him?
Yeah.
6 inches on him?
6 inches at least.
And also, I mean, he's got way better post moves. He's got
and he's got a better outside shot.
Yeah, he's got a better outside shot.
He's literally just a better shooter all around.
So, yeah, I mean, and also one thing, too, is, when you're using him in a pick and roll, it's different because then, you have a 5 on him and not a 3. Or a 4, because they're not going to be putting guys like DeAndre Ayton size on Zion Williamson. They're going to be putting guys, wing players who match up with him speed wise, and then maybe he can bully weaker 3s. But again, we'll have to wait and see. That's what I said. We don't have much to talk about Zion Williamson. Here we go talking about. We're at 15.
Jesus.
So at this point, like we just need to see what he's able to do. We have to see what he's able to do. We have to wait and see what he's able to do in the NBA. And again, unless something drastically changes, like he's able to hit multiple 3-point shots and it looks decent, then we won't really have much to talk about. Or maybe I'll be wrong. But let's move into the Suns. Obviously, we just talked about Booker and Ayton. I have them going R.J. Barrett. Ricky and Dave have them going John Morant. I think I understand your guys' ideas because they need a point guard. Am I anything outside of that, or do you guys actually believe he's the second best player?
No, I don't believe he's the second best, and this is contradicting my big board a little bit because I still had the 3 Dukies at the top. But the one thing that I will say is there are only, in my mind, 2 teams that if they get the second pick would definitely take John Morant over either RJ and Cam, and that is Phoenix and New York, because they, to me, I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, Ricky, it's top 5, take the BPA player. No, they need a point guard. Those 2 teams need a point guard. And like the Suns, I look at them and to where it's like, I think about the Celtics where it's like, hey, they got Jaylen Brown. They get Jason Tatum. It's just wing players on top of wing players. I don't think that's going to work for the Suns. Yeah, you have Devin Booker. Adding another wing player like an RJ Barrett, who's an athletic, ball-dominant guy, I don't think that would be the best move. Go and get your point guard that you can put next to Devin Booker. And if you're worried about John Morant not being an assist guy, doesn't matter. You just mentioned it. Devin Booker does get assists, so that could work with the John Morant.
Also, he's getting assists because he doesn't have a traditional point guard.
Yeah, and I mean,
he's forced into it.
So, I mean, but he has the skill to where I feel like for the Suns especially, need here at number 2 fits a little bit better because John Morant, would it be bad if he did go number 2? No, but I don't think he's the second best player in the league or in the draft class.
Real quick, I don't know if this is picking up on
for the audio listeners.
Is it? Do you guys hear?
I don't
headphones?
know.
Okay.
I heard it a little bit when you moved the receipts out.
If you're on YouTube, you could see I'm messing with my wallet because all my dollar bills were sticking out, and I have OCD, and it was really bugging the shit out of me. So I needed to fix it.
I thought you were getting ready to place a bet.
I'm very
like,
sorry.
Throwing the money on the table that John Morant's not going to be number 2.
I'm just a weirdo. I don't care if he goes number 2 because, again, like Dave said, like he does think he's the second best player.
I do, yeah. 100%.
I mean, so far, he's been performing well. And so people say, oh, Murray State. Yes, but also, like, where did Jerry Rice go to college? Where did Randy Moss go to college? Where did Walter Payton go to college?
But guys, like, the last Murray State point guard that was really...
If you comment that again, I will ban you from our comment section. I don't even have our login account.
He doesn't have that power.
I don't have the login password. They don't trust me. But I will ban you from our comment section.
The thing with that though is like Campaign and Ja are different players, and Dave, why don't you at least explain your side of why they are different players, and why you do believe
I will attack people all I want, Ricky.
And why
that is why I'm here,
and why you do believe Ja Morant is the second best player in the draft right now.
Ja Morant is easily one of the most talented people we've seen in college basketball. The big knock on him is obviously early in the season it was his turnovers and his strength of schedule. He can't change his strength of schedule. There's nothing he can do about that. But what he can do is improve his style of play and be more conscious of his ball control, because part of the problem with Ja is he was forcing a lot of plays early in the season because I think he bought into his own hype a little bit. He popped off really hard, really early, and it was just like, okay, I'm feeling myself. You watch him play, he has a ton of confidence when he plays, and honestly, none of it looks really bad on film. When you're watching on film, it's all within the flow of the game. He's not making the wrong decision too often. But when you look at the stat sheet and you see 7 turnovers, 8 turnovers, 9,
10 turnovers against Alabama.
It was actually a 10 and a 7.
Yeah.
Outside of those two, if you take those two out, he's putting up, 2, 4, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4. Like, those are fine. Because guess what? His assist numbers, 13, 13, 7, 10, 14, 13. Like, can we just... The man has great passing ability. Like, he's a great facilitator. He is a dominant scorer. He can get into the paint easily, and he knows how to distribute from those drives. He can drive and kick with the best of them. He can go off the pick and roll. Like, his offensive game looks clean. The biggest problem people see now is his three-point shooting's inconsistent, and I would say to that, his free throw shooting, his shot positioning looks solid, motion-wise.
Real quick, too, I just want to jump in. Like, you're talking about what he's doing as a player, right? And you're talking about the turnovers, and the turnovers are a little bit worrisome. But also, one thing that you have to throw out there is like, all right, who else has done something like this? Who else has gone out and done something to the level of Ja Morant and what he's doing? The turnovers are worrisome, but he also has 9.9 assists to 4.8 turnovers a game. That's a very good assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah.
That is almost 2, which is a good assist to turnover ratio.
Especially that volume.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Since 1992 to 1993, that's as far as Sports Reference college basketball goes, to now, 2018, 2019, there is one player that has ever averaged 20 points a game, 8 assists a game, and 5 rebounds per game.
Who that guy?
That's Ja Morant. And he's averaging 22 a game. He's averaging 9 a game. And he's averaging 6 a game. So I even lowered the bar to help this kid out to see if anyone else has done that, and no one has. Not in the Power 5 conference, not in a Murray State, not even, no D1 player has ever done this.
Right.
So that's the point. Is like, he is doing something spectacular. And he's not just doing it because he's going up against shit conference. He's doing it against Auburn. He's doing it against Alabama. Like, he's doing this against SEC teams as well.
And I also feel like, look at who the Suns have as their coach and Coach Igor. I know that Devin Booker and Ja are not the exact positions as Ricky Rubio and Don Mitch, but it could be almost a similar thing as like the Don Mitch who came out, he shot a little bit better from 3 than Ja is, about 35 to 31. But ballpark, they're the same. They're not strong 3-point shooters. And actually, you look at Ja, his assist numbers are way higher than Donovan Mitchell's was, but they could both get to the basket and score points. And then you can look on the other side. Of course, Devin Booker puts up more points than Ricky Rubio, but those two can work the same as Igor had in Rubio and Don Mitch, to where it could work out. And then on top of it, Mikal Bridges, if he develops, becomes that 3-and-D player you want. You have DeAndre Ayton down low. I feel like it's just the point guard. That's the missing piece. Go and take it at number 2 if it's there.
You absolutely have to pull the trigger. And I would agree with you, Ricky. I think that what the Suns can do with their potential lineup, if they end up with Ja Morant and that young wing depth, and obviously DeAndre Ayton at the 5, like, they're a dangerous team at that point, because what we've seen so far is, like, Devin Booker is just absolutely fucking stellar. Ayton has great games. His defensive lapses have gotten less and less as the season goes on, which is a great sign for everybody who, was concerned about that going into this year.
Don't write that off.
It's not done.
Yeah, I mean, like,
he was horrible. Now he's less horrible.
But he can also go back to horrible. He can continue to improve. He can continue to get back.
We'll
have to watch that.
Fair. I don't want to get people too overhyped on him, because I'm still concerned.
Like, we can't see James Harden, what he's doing right now, being like, oh, he's going to average 40 for the rest of the season.
He's the MVP.
Like, we don't know.
I'm going to say that
right now, but it's also January.
Yep. So, point being, their team loaded with potential. I think Igor has a whole lot more to work with on this upcoming team than he did previously in Utah.
Yeah.
I think the skill sets and the young talent here, super easy, super moldable. Like, he can build whatever he wants with this group, because they are the modern NBA.
And a thing, too, with, that comparison of the skill set and players he had with Utah, like, there's a reason why Quinn Snyder was so high in the past rankings of our coach. I think he was top 5. Is because we look at that team, and, Gobert is a phenomenally talented defensive player.
Absolutely.
Donovan Mitchell was extremely impressive as a rookie. Ricky Rubio is a solid veteran point guard.
Better.
He got better under the coaching. Like, we have seen what those players were able to do. They took rises up. We didn't expect Donovan Mitchell to be this good. We didn't expect Rudy Gobert to be this consistent. Like what he's done with his
defensive game was
impressive.
great, and then offensively he's gotten better. And it's just you're right, Quinn Snyder, credit to him. But like at this point, you gotta be like, so about that other guy who was just still out.
And now he's got like legit talent. So that's the thing with the point you're making, and I 100% agree.
Yeah.
So Ja, I think, is a questionable thing. The thing that I would say with RJ,
I was just going to say the last thing I'm going to throw out about the Suns is the probably worst thing, and I know this is going to sound like, wait, did he just say what I think he said? The worst thing that could happen to the Suns is getting the number 1 pick.
Because they're forced into
They would
Zion.
have to take Zion.
I disagree with that.
They would have to take, like, Zion's going to be a great player, going to be, I think, a great
Do you
player.
think Fit could ruin his potential?
Maybe. I don't know
do you think
how
he
he'd
could
sit
be-
behind Ayton. Being number 2 would be the best for the Suns because then they could just, we'll take John Morant, and they're not forced into a pick like they'd be at number 1.
Disagree. Just give me the best player, and that's Zion. Like and he's not sitting behind Ayton. Like he's still.
Well, no,
probably
like
play the
how are they
3.
going to play together? I'm not completely sure how they're
Well,
going to
then,
four,
but then
whichever, yeah.
you turn him into the big man who can pass, and that just helps that offense flow even more.
I just want to be Draymond Green on steroids. Is that too much to ask
Well,
for?
and that's something that too. Like Igor's offense is huge on passing. Zion is a good passer.
Exactly.
That's going to lead to open lanes. Like
I think-
Ayton's a decent passer as well.
He
Like
is,
that's
yeah.
just going to help the offensive flow. Yes, he's not going to be able to take outside shots, but you also have one of the best 3-point shooters, or at least best shooters in Devin Booker, and you can always surround them with shooting. T.J. Warren's becoming a better shooter. Josh Jackson obviously hasn't, but even Okubo has shown a stroke before, and maybe he'll be able to mold that even more. And you can also just go out and get shooting. Like there's the ability to add talent because Phoenix doesn't have a massive cap. Obviously Ryan Anderson's eating up a little bit right now, but you can always find ways to add talent around there. You can never find a generational player. And if we're thinking Zion is that player, you do not pass that up.
I think the worst case scenario is the Suns get sunsed and they get dropped down to like 4, 5, and 6 range, and they miss out because we talk about how top heavy this talent is in this draft. And it's not to say that the guys below them aren't that good. It's just we don't see the same level of upper end potential, the upper echelon of like, this has potential to be a breakout star in the league.
Well, and I think something too is that I think there's one or two players that people are for sure like these guys are not going to bust or have like very
high
low levels
floor.
of bust, and that would be Zion and RJ. And even then, like you look at DeAndre Hunter, he has a low floor, but how high is his ceiling? Truly, and that's kind of
High
going
floor.
back. What did I say?
You said low floor.
Yeah, high floor. I'm sorry. There's guys that most likely with perceived high floors.
Yeah, when
And
you're
RJ,
mocking top 10
Zion,
picks to
and
be,
DeAndre
role players on a team, you know, you're a quality starter, but you're in that like Boyan, Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is top 10 player this year. I can't say that anymore. But that's exactly what I'm concerned with in this draft. So I'm like, if they got sunsed and they got knocked down to 5, 6, that would suck. I would go for pick me the freaking moon at that point. Go potential.
Well, and that's the thing too is like then you get into the Jared Culver region, you get in the Kevin Porter region, you get into the Romeo Langford. Then do you start thinking about Nasir Little or Bol Bol? Like there's a lot of
there's a lot of twos.
things that can question. Yeah.
There's a lot of twos this year.
Well, then Darius Garland, how much do you
how
think
good
he'll
is he
fit?
gonna look? Yeah.
So. I think it would be worse if they fell back than fall forward because then you have a shot at generational talent.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the Portland Trailblazers and be like, hey, this Michael Jordan kid might not fix with Clyde Drexler, but Sam Bowie will. You're going Michael Jordan.
True.
So,
Good point.
and I'm not saying that Zion's going to be Michael Jordan, but that's the idea of, like, same with the Cavs. Like, oh, hey, there's LeBron James. You could take a shot at Darko, though. Darko's a better fit. Come on, you're going with LeBron James.
I mean, Darko got a ring before LeBron.
I think we're getting to that level of the fit does not matter. Zion is the pick.
Yep.
I'm just going RJ, though, for the Suns because I think that he might kill ball handling at some point. He might not look for the pass to his teammates, and I think that's something that isn't extremely, positive for him. But I think one thing with him, and maybe I don't fully know this, this is me fully speculating, I think there is something to him that he does want to prove that he is the best. And when you are on possibly the best freshman class ever in college basketball history, you want to prove that you are the best. So why would I want to pass it to Zion if that's going to be more time for Zion on SportsCenter? Why would I pass it to Cam if that's going to mean more time on Cam and Zion and less time on me? I think a big thing about him is being the alpha, and that might not mesh well with DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. But I think at least talent-wise, I think he's trying to prove something right now. And I think that that could possibly be cleaned up. And talent-wise, I think he is the second most talented player in this draft. And I don't think you pass that up because Ja has been spectacular. And I'm not writing off Ja being the second pick at all, but also you look at that team and they can use a 3. Like TJ Warren's already locked up, extended. You can keep him as your 6 man. You look at their wings as well. Josh Jackson hasn't panned out extremely well. And RJ Barrett looks like the next great to good wing in the NBA, and those are so valuable where you could see teams, and if Devin Booker continues this growth, maybe Igor does see him moving to a number one, typical number one spot. I could see that happening. And also, RJ is a good passer.
So you're thinking...
when he shows his ability to pass, he can pass extremely well.
So their starting lineup would be, just to clarify for everybody, their starting lineup, if they go RJ, would be...
I think...
Go wing
at
heaven,
the top,
man. Just go wing heaven.
I would say Devin Booker,
Yep.
McHale, once they all pan out. I'm not saying McHale yet. Devin Booker, McHale, RJ.
I mean, it's either Warren, Jackson, or TBD.
Yeah.
They might not have that guy on the roster yet.
Yeah, so then I'd probably... because,
Oubre, if depending on his contract.
Yeah, they have to re-sign him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you just leave power forward open right now. And then... because I don't think you put Josh Jackson there. So then just Ayton at the 5. I mean, right now this team's a whole...
lineup. It's an intriguing lineup. But yeah, it kind of falls on to the, how well can Devin Booker lead the team as a 1 guard in Igor's system, and, we'll see. But I agree, though, RJ has incredible talent, and he does seem to give off that alpha vibe. I know all 3 of these guys are really close and really friendly with each other, and that's how, it's an awesome story to get the behind the scenes from them at Duke. But at the same time, I do get that definite vibe from him.
And you could be competitive and also be buddies.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, that doesn't mean automatically, if you're out looking for yourself, you can't be friends with anybody.
Right.
And you can't be...
You don't have to hate your teammates like, Kobe did and like Jordan did.
Yeah.
That's the old school NBA vibe. That's no longer a thing.
Well, I mean, look at us. We all want to be right, but we're still all friends, right?
I mean, but we all know that we're right.
But I mean, I like what you said, though, about the whole thing with RJ. And that's why, for me, the best fit for him is New York, not Phoenix. And it's because... you want to be the guy. You're going to go to a team you're going to get the spotlight in New York. It is the Mecca. They don't call it the Mecca for no reason. And being the guy in New York, being the guy to bring them back, Zion will have to fight for, he's not going to have to fight for the spotlight because he's Zion, but he's going to be in Cleveland, where Cleveland is Cleveland, and it's not the same as New York, where it's New York, when they're good, the number 1 on that team is almost like a god when it comes to
they weren't even that good when Jeremy Lin was worldwide famous for 2 weeks.
I'm talking about even not just Jeremy Lin. I'm talking about the 90s.
1980.
I'm talking about when the 90s when New York was bad.
They playoff runs with Melo. So
they did.
I mean, they had
did anyone think Melo was the king of New York though? Really?
No. They always question that.
But
I think they even question, they probably even questioned Ewing. I wasn't around then, but they probably fucking questioned him.
But for me, that's the best fit because even with the lineup, point guard, do whatever you want. If you want Moutier there, if you want Frank develop, probably Moutier at the 1. Hardaway's got the contract. He'll be at the 2. I put RJ at the 3, move Kevin Knox to the 4, and then put KP at the 5.
Well, he's been playing most of the 4.
And that's my starting lineup. And
but can you really roll KP at the 5 all the time?
It wouldn't be all the time, but I could start him at the 5.
Well,
you can re-sign Cantor on maybe
no one's gonna re-sign Cantor.
I mean, if you can get him for less money, you can bring Cantor back. If not, you've got Mitch Rob that you developed or that you drafted last year.
Yeah, well, Mitchell Robinson will need more time before he's playing, 30 minutes a night. That's my concern.
Well, and I'm not saying play him 30 a night, but KP, I'll start him at the 5, and then we can move his minutes to the 4.
I just don't like having him bang down low at 7-3.
Well, if he's ideally healthy too, if he's ideally healthy, he's most likely going to get more minutes than Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
He's going to most likely play 30 minutes to 33 minutes a game.
Right.
And then you can just, when Knox isn't on the floor, slide him over. This is always just a start.
Right.
And this is always just, when we do starting lineups, is what is your best lineup? What's the lineup you could put the most talent without giving up too much positional integrity?
Fair enough.
So, and also going back to the Suns thing, maybe you move Ayton back to the 4 and put Holmes at the 5. Or, I mean, they have been putting Warren out there with Bridges.
Yeah.
So, I think the one thing, though, is just maybe then you just go D'Anthony Melton, Devin Booker, R.J. Barrett, and then Warren or Bridges, and then Ayton.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but that's one thing that I do like about the Suns is the depth of that team.
Yeah, they got a lot of young
year.
options that they're going to figure out in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. And they got Melton, they got Okubo too. So
yeah,
like I mean, there's some options that they have that might not be the
greatest. You gotta love the fact that like DeAnthony Melton, the second rounder, is like we're all incredibly high on him. God, we were spoiled last year.
Yeah,
like God.
But I mean, we might end up developing guys like that. I mean, there was guys that I was putting like in 21 through 30 that I was more in love with than guys that I put like 11. Like there's a lot of guys like KZ. I'm falling in love with KZ. I want to put that motherfucker in my top 10. But we'll talk about him. Let's just go on now into the third pick. We'll go to the Knicks. I have John Morant. Ricky, you have RJ Barrett. Dave, you have RJ Barrett. You already talked about RJ and how he fits. My idea is just, again, you're not sure about the point guard position, right? We're not sure if it's going to be Moutier. You're not going to be sure if it's going to be Frank.
Well, and RJ can be that ball handler at the 3. Like, you don't need that, like, yeah, you can have Moutier out there, but
he can be a point forward.
RJ's the one that runs the offense from the 3 and just move KP and Kevin Knox over from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5.
My idea, too, is if you're going to go for big moves in free agency, the Knicks, John Morant could be your point guard. Most likely the big names in free agency are wings. They're Kevin Durant. They're Jimmy Butler if he opts out. Kawhi Leonard. So you're just trying to find spaces to fill. Tim Hardaway could always move over, like you said. Knox at the 4. At the 5, you could put KP, or obviously KP at the 4, whatever you want to do, and always sign a free agent. 5, because they do have a lot of movement. I just do think John Morant is very takeable at 3. I mean, he has shown so many different levels to his skill. He has that outside shot. He has the ability to drive. I don't love his ability to fight off contact entirely yet, but I think with NBA training, he can bulk up a little bit, and he can get stronger when driving to the rim. And again, I think the assist numbers when you're passing to NBA level talent, hopefully, we don't know if Frank is NBA talent level yet, or some of the guys on this roster, but when you're passing out to guys like KP, it's going to be easier to trust those guys. It's going to be easier, to hit them when they're open. And maybe if you're passing to a guy who's a former All-Star, it's going to be easier to put your trust into tight windows, and maybe you don't have to trust tight windows a little bit more because your best player, you have him covered. You could always just dish it out to Knox or something like that if he's a little bit more wide open. So I think the talent level also determines a little bit of the decision making that you're going through. So I do trust John Morant when it comes to the next level. And again, I think he has proven that he can do this consistently. And I think one thing that the Knicks do need is some consistency, because you took Kevin Knox, and Kevin Knox, while he has had some phenomenal games, has not been super consistent. Neither have his minutes, so I won't be too bashing of Kevin Knox here. But same with Frank. Like, Frank hasn't been consistent. He'll have games where he scores 20 points and then he'll be quiet for the next 7. And KP hasn't been consistently healthy. I think one thing that Ja has shown is that he can be consistently out there and consistently producing. So I think that Ja would be a really nice fit for the Knicks. But you did go RJ. That's mostly likely because your guy
Ja's already gone.
Ja's gone.
I agree. Like if given the opportunity, like absolutely the Knicks should take a point guard. Like I think Moutier is doing a great job growing this year, but I don't think he's going to be a starting point guard in the NBA like long term for any team. So I look to move him back up, and then Ja would have a field day with that team. Like that'd be ridiculous.
It'd be fun to watch him too.
But I think RJ, because he's best player available after that, I easily see him fitting in there. He's the heir to the throne. Kick Tim Hardaway Jr. out of town at some point. I mean, it's just I've got feelings on him.
Well, and I want to pose this question just for the Knicks really quick. Let's say they do get like a big free agent. Let's say Kevin Durant's like, I want to come and play for New York.
Wow.
What are the odds the Knicks then, because the draft happens before they'd be able to make any type of trade in the new league year, they go ahead and say, we're going to draft a guy like RJ Barrett because we're planning on, like, odds are high that Durant could come. No, I'm not saying trade RJ.
I don't know if I was going
I'm saying trade make a draft or a trade after the league year involving Tim Hardaway Jr. that would send him and future picks to the Wizards to bring John Wall in.
Well,
and then there's your point. And then there could be your point guard.
Cap becomes an issue just because, I mean, John Wall's going to be making upwards of $40 million when he hits that next contract. So you're going to be paying most likely a max to the free agent that you sign if it is Kevin Durant. Then you're going to have to be paying a ton to John Wall.
It's a John Wall max contract.
Yeah. So then you're going to have to be
your
looking
two
at
maxes.
not
So KP?
as well, and he's a restricted free agent this year. It's difficult. So I
can't see them.
I don't see that happening either. I think if you sign a big free agent, then you also have to worry about Kevin Knox. Then you might not have enough money for Kevin Knox. And then you do have the bird rights on it, but then you have to go way over the luxury tax, and then there's the hard
Do you
cap.
see Dolan?
Yeah, I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think there's a reason to go out and you can sign somebody else for less money. And again, like yes, you might not get
if a Rubio hits free agency,
you might not get the talent level of a John Wall, but you're definitely not going to be paying somebody $47 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
But here I think is where most people would say the talent drops, and some people wouldn't. But the Bulls, we all have them going Cam Reddish. Do you think this is where the talent drops, or do you think it's the next pick?
It's after this. Like I don't think Cam Reddish is like saying that the talent drops here is saying that Cam Reddish isn't good or is bad. That's how I see it in my mind. And as a Bulls fan, I would actually like having Cam Reddish on my team. I like what he's doing at Duke. I feel like people overlook him because of RJ, because of Zion. Like if he was a one on a different team, we wouldn't be overlooking Cam Reddish, kind of like we are now, because he's the third player on a Duke team.
How are you saying that? Because yes, he's the third player on the team, but that's all we've seen is him being the third player. So how do you know? Like, what have you seen from his game that you can be taking Cam Reddish off him, put him on, like, let's say a Texas Tech, and he would thrive? Like, what are you seeing in his game that makes him thrive outside of Duke?
With me, when I watched, of course, for the ball handling, a lot of it, you got to go to the high school tape. He can handle the ball. He can be a guy that could be like the number one ball handler, but he doesn't have to be. And that's why for the Bulls, I'm actually kind of sitting back and thinking, out of the Dukies, the two that I either want Zion or I either want Cam Reddish. I want, like, RJ is my third, because we've got Zach, who's ball dominant. We've got KD at the one. We already have, like, Markkanen, who's our 4, Wendell, who's our 5. We really need to lock down that 3 for me. And Cam Reddish could be a guy that plays off the ball next to Zach LaVine and doesn't have to have the ball, can shoot from the outside, can get passes from Zach or from KD, and fit nicely with what the Bulls are trying to do offensively.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants a 3-and-D wing, right? Like, he's got the body of an NBA player right now. All he needs to do is continue conditioning. His shot stroke is nice. The fact that the numbers aren't overly impressive is a little concerning to some people, and that's fair, because I think we all expect him to shoot over 40% with what he had done in high school to kind of lead into it. But I'm honestly just thinking that at the end of the day, due to his body, due to his wingspan and makeup, like, everything physically tells me he's got potential. He's got so much more potential than we're seeing out of him right now at Duke. So I think that he is deservedly in the top 4 for talent, and that is where the drop-off happens. Like, kind of like, you know how we basically had a segment about Nasir Little on
The Primetime
podcast, talking about how, like, look, he doesn't get a chance to shine because he's getting limited minutes because the guy in front of him, Cam Johnson's shooting lights out. Like, he doesn't get his opportunity to shine. I feel like Cam Reddish is a similar situation where he's a third option on a team. He's not getting a chance to shine. He's on the floor a lot. He's shooting volume amounts out there. He's shooting 7+ threes a game, which is insane to me, but he's just a solid player top to bottom. And I think that anyone expecting him to be a superstar as the third man on a team, you're just wrong. Like, that's not...
But do you think he can be a superstar in the NBA?
I do. I agree. I think he's the same boat as Nasir. He's a better player than he is better NBA prospect than he is in college player. And I hope that the Bulls could take that, because that's ideal for us. Like, let's go ahead and take a guy who couldn't shine in college, who has 3-and-D wing potential, but then also can grow into a ball-handling wing who's dominant defensively as well. Like, that's everybody's dream.
Here's the thing that I will say, like, if you want us to talk more about the Bulls, we will in a future mock. But I do want to hit right now where this talent drops off. And you brought up Nasir Little. And his ability to grow, and that in the next level at the NBA, he will be, good. And
we all assume he'll be a better player in the NBA, yes.
I have him the highest going next to the Hawks. So I think we'll just jump over the Bulls. We talk about them a lot. Cam Reddish is a very good 3-and-D player. He's going to fit in with at least the players that they have right now. Chris Dunn,
he's a perfect
Zach LaVine, Cam Reddish, Lauri Markkanen, and then Wendell Carter Jr. It's a very good starting lineup. You just got to get rid of the head coach. But now with the Hawks, Nasir Little, I have him the highest at 5th. You have him going to the Wizards at 6. Ricky, you have him at 11.
Yep.
You're saying that the talent drops off after him?
I'm saying the talent might drop off before him.
Okay, so he is that cutoff.
I think
so there's
the top 4, and then there's everybody else.
Okay, and Ricky, do you agree with that?
I would say for sure top 4, Culver to me. By the time we get to draft, Culver might play himself into where we're saying after the top 5.
Right now.
Right now it's top 4, maybe top 5. From 5 to 10 for me is all... I would feel confident taking these guys.
I'm not asking that,
but I'm not like for sure they're for sure.
I'm asking like
where's the talent
where would you be bummed picking? Like would you be bummed picking at 5 because you didn't get a shot at the 4?
No, if that's a question, 10 or below.
5 to 15 for me. You could put them in a bucket, shake them up, and just pull out names. I'm like, yeah, okay.
I feel
right
that
now they haven't
they
haven't distinguished themselves enough.
I feel that way 6 to 15.
So you want to put Nasir in that group?
I do want to put Nasir into that group. And I know that then some people are worried about the playing time. I am too, and I've brought this up multiple times. Roy Williams was a national champion coach. Yeah. He's a legend, like you said. He is obviously knows basketball talent when he sees it. And Nasir only getting 20 minutes a game is worrying. But when you do see him out there is the growings of I think an NBA starter at least, and possibly an NBA star. He has the ability to score. He has the ability to shoot from the outside, and maybe it's not super consistent because he's not getting the minutes. And you see him go 1 for 5, and that's the most he's ever taken in a game. But also, when you're getting limited minutes, you do not want to make bad mistakes, so those minutes go down.
And we've watched him get pulled off the court for poor decisions already.
And I think that's one thing that he is kind of walking on thin ice. And
that's fair.
And I think something with him. You don't want to push the envelope because you do not want to totally tank your draft stock, but you also want to be a good teammate. You want to be able to help your team win games. Right. And I think that might change once you go into the NBA. There's not a lot of forwards and 3-and-D players who are 6'6" with an over 7-foot wingspan, who have this much athleticism, can play this amount of defense, has the ability to attack the basket like he has. And he's even a really good free throw shooter when he's had the opportunity to. And again, looking at what he's done from 3, like it's 24%, but it's going 1 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 2, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 0 of 1, 1 for 1, 2 for 3, 1 for 2. I haven't seen enough out of him from 3.
Yeah.
But again, I think that goes back to the opportunities and not wanting to piss away your opportunity. But when you go to the line, you're hitting those shots. And we usually take free throw shooting as a barometer of how good of a shooter you can be. And I think that there's enough there that doesn't make me worry too much about his three-point shooting. And I think we even look back at Luka. Like, people were like, oh, he's shooting 31% from 3. He's going to be garbage. Well, you look at the free throws, and you also look at he played 91 consecutive games. Not everything is just numbers. You have to take it into context. And I think with Nasir Little, the volume of 3 is not there. But then you look inside the arc, and what he's doing from two-point range. 49-81, over 60% from the field there. Yeah. And, that's mostly...
He's a great slasher.
Driving, yeah.
Yep.
But also, there is the ability to shoot from inside the arc. And there's that ability where it gets closer to the bucket, he's going to be able to get it to fall. And I think, you keep stepping out. You keep practicing. And I think if he works on that, you can build up the ability to hit from the outside.
Yeah, it's just tough to give him those shots when you have a guy in front of him, and Cam Johnson shooting 47% from 3 on over 5 attempts a game. There's a reason why, but at the same time, he's got to try.
He's on a really talented college team.
Yeah.
That's why. So when you're on a really talented college team, it's tough to get your opportunities, and guys can outplay you. I mean, you look back, and was Joel Berry the best guard in UNC for the past 10 years? No, he has phenomenal numbers because he's a great college player. But he's not a great NBA player. And not being a great college player doesn't mean you can't be a great NBA player. And being a great NBA player didn't mean you were a great college player. I think there's a lot of ways that Nasir Little can develop into an NBA starter. And I think he's a guy that you can look at, top 5 and be like, very proud of taking him, because I think he has that body. I think he has that potential. And the NBA draft always goes back to potential.
Yep.
And when he's working out at the combine, when he's, getting opportunities in minutes, he might shine back up to that top 5
Here's
level.
the thing I look at, and one of the comments that Dave and I got on our Nasir Little video, this is from the most greatest productions. He says in there, if you watch UNC games, it's coaching that's holding him back. That might be true. It might kind of be like a Sekou situation of okay, he doesn't know where he's going to, where he's has to be on the floor. I go back to a Bleacher Report article where they say, "What are you doing?" Williams asks, and Little just doesn't answer. And then he just goes, "Well, I don't know." He lifts his chin. He wishes that he knew the answer, but he just doesn't know where he should be. And my worry is that any team in the top 10 after the top 5, or even after the top 4, the Hawks, I'm not taking a flyer on Nasir Little because
why not?
One thing,
14 picks, you might as well.
One thing, I think that is a, hey, you know what? We do not, like, they are taking players that they think can help us win in the near future. I don't think he's a guy that fits in with what the old Golden State. Yeah, so the brass
win in the near future.
The brass that came
we know
over
they're from the Warriors front office.
the Warriors.
Yeah,
it
took Steph Curry 5 years before they made the playoffs.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
Steph Curry was not. I'm not relating him to Nasir Little. I wouldn't take him on the Hawks. If I'm the Wizards, I'm not going to take him there.
No, my point is it took them 5 years. From building that team, it took them 5 years to get to where they were.
But what I am saying is if he doesn't know where he's supposed to be, and yes, you could say, well, the coaching could help him, and that may be true. I'm not there at UNC. I don't know the situation. But if I'm in the top 10, I don't want to stay in the top 10 to where I wonder if all of these organizations from 5 to 10 are going to go, too big of a risk for me, and pass on them. Because
so you think the best scenario for Nasir Little is to get the best coaching?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Like he needs the right coach to work with him.
Gotten to the point.
I just like the biggest concern I have with Nasir Little is what they say about most athletes in most sports is what's above the shoulders is more important than what's below it. And when I start hearing don't know where he's supposed to be, don't know this, it's either one of two things. It's either the coach isn't helping you understand, or you just don't have the basketball IQ to understand. And if it's that second one, I'm pushing you to the side and I'm not going to draft you.
Why wouldn't the Hawks then make a great project team for him?
Because I don't see the Hawks as in it for a project. They want to get to winning as soon as possible.
I think you're...
What
timeline?
Where do you get that idea from?
Because if I look at Nasir Little, right now I'm looking at him as a 2 to 3 year project.
From the Hawks, not Nasir Little.
For the Hawks. And I don't think...
Where do you get the idea that the Hawks want to win now?
Because they're building their team. They went out and made their draft picks. They built the Young, Herter, and the Spellman draft picks to hit the guys that they want.
Herter was a 20 and Spellman was a 30.
Well, I know.
That does not mean those guys are starters for the rest of their
think about it. When they posted those picks, a lot of people were saying, there's your Warriors core. There's what you are. And
those are jokes,
I
Ricky.
get that's hype. But for me, at number 5, if you want to sit there and be a top 5 team for another 2 to 3 years, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, I'm going with a guy like Jarrett Culver, who is going to be able to hit from outside, who's going to be able to play the defense. And if you don't like what Kevin Huerter's doing right now, Jarrett Culver could be your Klay Thompson type of 3-and-D on your team.
Kevin Huerter's
way
been
better.
fine.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like for me, yes, Culver and Huerter kind of combat a little bit, but I would take that over Nasir Little, who right now I see as a project.
I think they're a team willing to take on projects. I think they're all about, we're at the top of the draft for the next couple of years.
Can I put some context to this?
Yeah.
If they wanted to win now, they'd be taking Luka Doncic and not trading him away. They just got Trae Young and draft capital.
Maybe
they're building up draft capital to build up their team.
The Luka argument is completely different because if you're saying that, then the Suns should have taken him at number 1.
They should have.
But I'm talking about the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not talking about the Phoenix Suns. I'm talking about the Atlanta Hawks. And what you're saying is that they want to win now.
And you know what? Nasir Little might be the same thing. Might be the same thing as Luka Doncic. There may be fears of, I don't want to waste my pick. And yes, he's a 2 to 3 year project. But if I don't have the faith that he's going to pan out in those 2 and 3 years, I'm not wasting a top 10 pick on him.
That's fine. I'm not saying you need to be picking Nasir Little.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that.
But
I'm trying to understand where you're coming from with the Atlanta Hawks about they want to win now.
Because
that's the only thing that I'm not understanding or drawing.
Let me rephrase it this way. You obviously, every single team wants to turn their team around. If you're a team that's sitting there, I'm fine picking number 1 overall every year, then fire your management. That's why Bulls management wants to get, we want Garpax gone because that's what it seems like. They're competent with, we can make a playoff run with veterans or we can sit in the top 5. What I should say is, I see Nasir Little as a project, but when you say like 2 to 3 years, it's not for sure that we know he's going to become what his ceiling is. And if you're not confident that he can develop in those 2 to 3 years, take someone else who you believe can do that.
And the final thing
Maybe
that I'll say too is with the Hawks, I don't get that idea from them because they just hired their general manager in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
They just hired Lionel Hollins to be Lionel Hollins, right, is their head coach this year. I think they are trying to build up that front office. They're trying to build up that coaching staff. They're trying to build up that team.
Lloyd Pierce,
thank you. Lionel Hollins. Who's Lionel Hollins?
He was with the Grizzlies.
Was he? All right. Sorry, Lloyd Pierce. He's the former assistant coach of the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
I knew where he come from. I could picture his face. Just forgot his name. Lloyd Pierce. I'm sorry. But they're building out that coaching staff. They're building out that front office. They're building a culture, and they just need to build up a team. And my idea is it's not that scary to take on a project. And also, I don't see the massive difference between Culver and Little talent-wise. And yes, there's difference between production. But also, Nasir Little's 18. Jared Culver's older. I mean, one's a sophomore, one's a freshman. And real quick, also, 2 different players. Culver is more of a, two guard, and Nasir Little is a natural 3. And I think you see the buildings of a 3 and D player, where Culver might be more of just a all-out wing and possibly a combo guard in some instances as well. And I think there is that higher ceiling for Nasir Little. And yes, you might call that a project, which is fine. But I just think that when you're in that spot of being 5th, top 5 pick for multiple years, you need to take shots at projects because those projects get you outside of that. And yes, hey, maybe you won't be, if you take Jared Culver, he'll be more of a plug and play and you win 5 more games. But that takes you from 5 to 7. I think Nasir Little takes that ability for you to get from 5 into the playoffs at his peak and at his performance. And I think that's where I'm trying to say, where does the talent drop off? Because I think of Zion as an NBA starter at his low. I think of RJ Barrett as an NBA starter at his low. I think John Morant is an NBA starter at his low. Cam Reddish, same thing. And I think the same for Nasir Little. I think Jared Culver's low could just be a bench player, and I think that's about it. I don't think his star potential, maybe it's a quality starter to a top 10 wing. I think Nasir Little can be a top 5 wing and possibly an all-star.
See, for me, and maybe I should have explained it like this, it's Nasir Little project, but at the end of that project, how confident are you that he is actually going to get there? And if I'm the Hawks, if I put 3 years into a prospect and you don't hit even close to what we thought it was going to be, then I don't want to be at number 5 looking back at this draft going, wow, we drafted a bust.
Obviously, we had a long discussion, so if you want to throw into anything onto that, go ahead. But you took Kevin Porter if you want to change the subject.
Just a final note on all that. Like, if you're so low on his chance to pan out, then fine. Just say that. Don't that would have streamlined about the last 15 minutes of this episode. But with all that being said, Kevin Porter Jr. is pretty cool though, right, guys?
No, he is.
He's a true combo guard who can facilitate, he can score. He has that it factor to him when you watched him play. We're all sort of assuming that thigh injury is going to be a season ender for him.
Are you worried about that?
No, because he's probably going to be fine. He just doesn't want to come back because there's no way his draft stock stays this high if he plays more. If you look at his individual performances, nothing stellar. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't popped off for 30 a game, on season. He's got average numbers, but when you watch him play, it's the basketball IQ, it's his handles, it's his motions running an offense that really intrigues you. You start to see that star potential out of him, and he's a guy where I'm so high on him that I'm concerned because I'm like, this seems like fool's gold to me. I probably will have you dropping if other players can continue to play like a Jared Culver. Jarrett gives me that Jimmy Butler feeling. It's that tough grittiness to his play. He's not a consistent shooter. He's a streakier shooter. Obviously, he's better than Jimmy was at this point in time in his career, but just that style of play is what I'm aiming at with that one. And I think Kevin Porter Jr. just has a certain special it right now that hasn't washed off. If players like Nasir Little and Jarrett Culver continue to play up, there's absolutely every reason in the world for me to push them above him. But right now, I look at that Hawks team and I go, you want a stud. Trae Young right now, amazing floor general for you. But at the same time, when he's not out there, that team is truly lost. Obviously, Jeremy Lin is an excellent player, but he's not in your long-term plans. So let's go ahead and get you a great 2 guard to work with him hand in hand. I think Herter, amazing shooter. It's just they've got to figure out how to use him right in that offense, giving him meaningful minutes while not exposing him too much right now because he's still growing. So I think that Kevin Porter Jr. is a guy who I would think like that to me seems like the Hawks could really succeed with that kind of a pick.
And the thing too with Kevin Porter's injury is was reported a 1 to 2 week injury, and obviously this thing could drag out. He could obviously make the idea of, hey, I want to play for myself, and obviously have a future to think about and step away. But also, how do you think that would affect if he does plan to step away and the reports are that it's a 1 to 2 week injury? How do you think that would reflect on him as a basketball player when it comes to the NBA draft stock?
What I'm seeing, and I just want to interject here, is this is from Twitter on the 29th. According to Andy Ensfield on Kevin Porter, he's made improvements with his flexibility and his strength in his thigh, but he's not capable of practicing. On the 30th, he was out there in sweatpants at the halftime of their game and was shooting, but it didn't look like he's bending his right leg much. And that's a thigh he's bruised almost 6 weeks ago now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I read that wrong. According to the OC Register,
was it 1 to 2 months?
Yeah, it was determined he had suffered a quad contusion that was expected to sideline in 1 to 2 weeks. Instead, the severity worsened for reasons not fully known, setting back the timeline for recovery to 4 to 5 weeks. So it was, I think, suffered December 7th. Currently January 3rd, so obviously with that report, we're probably going to push it more towards
because he was supposed to return in late December.
But yeah.
All right. So let's say it goes on to February and they shut him down. Does that then affect his draft stock? With the news that you just received?
He stays pretty steady until we see workouts from him and until his medical gets cleared. Like, that goes pretty much up to the draft deadline. If you guys remember last year, we had the Michael Porter Jr. saga going on. Obviously, a much more serious injury, but at the same time, the medical information around him was very conspiracy theory-ish. Like, it didn't get released to all the teams, only to who he wanted to disseminate information to. I wonder if... I don't think this will go the same route. Obviously, it'd be entertaining if it did, though. But, like, I think that this is more like... we're going to see him probably get back to his normal self by February. And it's just like, if you come out now and play for a month, like, is there really any benefit for you or your team to do that? Like, I think the risk is higher than the reward at that point. I would probably just play it safe, do my own thing, like practice on the side, and just be cool going into the NBA draft.
One thing, at least, will it help my team? USC is on a heater. They're on a 3-game win streak, and the Pac-12 looks like shit. So, hey, maybe the Pac-12 title's out there and he wants to push himself. What do you think, at least, about hurting his draft stock if he doesn't come
for
back?
me, I don't think it hurts it. It will not hurt it until we either see bad workouts or if at the combine the medicals come out and it's like, wow, this is bad. Well, that's the only way it really hurts because it's different than an injury that we're...
thigh injury go terribly wrong. That's the thing. There's no precedence.
Well, it's not even a thigh injury. Like, he didn't tear anything. He bruised it.
Yeah.
So my thing is, how bad can a bruise truly be? And then I start questioning, all right, like, if you had the ability to come back, this isn't like Bobo, had to get foot surgery.
Well, and
this isn't like Michael Porter who had to get back surgery, and Michael Porter still came back and played.
And that's why I was going to say it's different than an injury we're going to talk about later in ball.
Where's your mental toughness? And again, like, do you have that ability to playing for a team? I think GMs would look at that and be like,
I think he's going to have to answer those questions during interviews. 100%. I think you're on the right line of questioning.
So I think if he doesn't come back, then those questions will be brought up.
Yeah.
I think personally, I would like to see him, if he's able to play and he is healthy, go out and show what you have. Because, again, you only gave us 2 months. That's not enough to say that you're a top 10 pick for sure. I was questioning putting him outside of my top 10. I obviously didn't. I gave him the Magic at 9. But I do question that if, like, you're not coming back and you are cleared to come back, then where are you?
Let me throw it this way. It's similar to what we're seeing in the NFL where Nick Bosa basically said, bye, guys. I'm done. Like, I ain't coming back and getting rehearsed.
See, but I feel that's different.
Is it different because football's so physical?
And it's not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. And also, the other thing, too, is, like, what was Bosa dealing with?
I thought it was, like, some leg injury that he had.
I'd
have to look up exactly
This is
what
different because, like, I don't know if he tore anything. I'm not an NFL draft expert at all. But this is a bruise. Like, come on. Like, you could play through a bruise. And I'm not saying play through a bruise now.
Oh, that's healthy. What. It was a core muscle injury. He tore a, like, pectoral muscle, I think.
That's a tear. I mean, like, he bruised something. Like, you can get over a bruise. Ice it. I just think,
unless
like...
it's a misdiagnosis.
Unless it's a Kawhi thing. If you are healthy, though, I say play. I personally want you to play. So that's my thing. And that's, again, if you're healthy. If you're not healthy, then obviously don't play.
Yep.
So that's my line of thought. Also, did his dad play in the league? There's a Kevin Porter that did come up. And obviously he's Kevin Porter Jr. So I want to look into that and see if his dad played. Because apparently his dad, possible dad, is from Chicago. He went to DuSable. So anyways, let's move on now to the Wizards, right? Because we talked about the fall off. We talked about Nasir Little versus Jared Culver. At 6, I have the Wizards going with Romeo Langford. Ricky, you have Kevin Porter. And Dave, you have Nasir Little. Obviously, we talked about Porter. We talked about Little. Romeo Langford is a guy that I know that I've been on and off, hot and cold. Ricky's saying I was calling him trash last time.
It wasn't trash. It's just we were talking about him, and I brought up, he had a good game against Louisville. Yes. And I brought up, he had a good game against Louisville, and you completely dismissed. Like, I don't care. I'm still low on him. It's not going to change my opinion. And now because he blows out a trash Illinois team, you're all on the Romeo Langford bandwagon.
The thing with Langford is first off, I was on the Romeo Langford bandwagon. Check our early mock draft. It was garbage. I had him number 1.
Yeah, you did.
My thing with him was I worry about his shot consistency, right? And then he goes to the line against U of I and goes 11-14, which I really like.
It was a trash team, and that's coming from an Illinois.
The line doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean shit when you're going to the line. You could be playing the Spurs and you could be playing the fighting a line. You could still go 11-14 is going 11-14.
Yep.
Also, I think his defense is coming around as well. And maybe that's just because Indiana's a very good defensive team. And Archie Miller's a good defensive coach. But I think that he does show the ability to become a pretty decent, 2 guard who can, possibly facilitate, possibly drive an attack. Getting stronger in the NBA would help, and also be a good defender. So I think that could be something that is intriguing me more, that maybe he's not going to be the Kobe Bryant scorer, but maybe he has that ability to be Kobe light in the fact that he can score, 15 a game, but he can also be a good defender. Like, obviously, Kobe was a great defender. Yeah. Kobe was a great player, a great scorer. But maybe he can be to that level of Kobe, just a little bit taken back.
Just stop saying Kobe out loud.
That's fine. Well, no, the biggest thing, the only reason I'm saying Kobe was because people were saying
they wanted him to be Kobe.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he has a really good mid range. Yeah, credit to him.
He's 6'6" too, so the build's there. So that's the only reason why I'm saying Kobe. Some people who are coming into this might think, this is the kid that's being compared to Kobe. I'm just saying, he has some pieces that still show that Kobe ability, just not to Mamba level.
Right.
Maybe he's Garden Snake level. So I think that Romeo Langford's coming around a little bit on me too. And also with their ability of possibly getting rid of Bradley Beal this season or next season, you need a 2 at some point. I think Romeo would be making sense next to John Wall because John Wall is such a great passer. He can find him wide open shots, and I think Romeo can hit wide open jumpers. So I think that would help his offensive game as well, having someone who can create for him. He can create on his own right, but also having that ability of having a top 10 guard in John Wall creating open shots for you off ball could be huge for Romeo Langford.
And for me, it comes down to the Bradley Beal move. Because if I was for sure they were not going to move him, then I would have had Keldon Johnson going here. But because I'm like, you know what? In my mind, moving Bradley Beal by the trade deadline is the best move possible. Go with the 2. Go with Kevin Porter Jr., who to me has in my mind, a little bit higher ceiling than a Keldon Johnson. And that's why it's debatable. But if they were going to keep Bradley Beal, then I might go with a Keldon Johnson here because
your assumption is Beal's gone. You're drafting for the future.
Yep, exactly. Right. And I mean, because John Wall's stuck.
Yeah.
He's here to stay.
I'm going there digging to the well. They're like, hey, we're bad. We're real bad right now. Let's take someone with potential. I think that this is going to be eventually they're going to flip over the majority of the roster. But it's the Wizards, so they're bad, and they're not going to do it right. So at least they end up with the most potential available for their point in the draft.
I'm really going to bring this fucking podcast down. Just found an article because I was looking up the thing of Kevin Porter, who was from Chicago, was Kevin Porter Jr.'s dad. From the SeattleTimes.com, Kevin Porter Jr. lost his father when he was 4. So, yikes. Sorry, Kevin.
Not so great.
For bringing that up, yeah.
Honestly, though, if I had a choice, I'd rather lose my dad before I was 5 than later in life.
Not easy.
No, but like,
I'd rather have a dad.
Not either way.
100%.
I don't want to be bringing this up because, like,
100%,
last thing I want is like someone like somewhat sending this to Kevin Porter Jr. I just want to apologize for bringing up your dad because if that is a soft spot, that sucks that you lost it very early in your life, or just in your life at all. I still have my dad around, so I'm lucky. We all do. So knock on wood, we're lucky. So my bad. Just want to correct that. Not just one's Kevin Porter, one's Kevin Porter Jr. Not related. So, but you have him going to the Wizards.
Yeah,
so
I do.
I just wanted to throw that out there. Nasir Little, though, what do you think?
Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry.
Yikes.
Didn't let you follow that one up too easily, huh?
Yikes. No, like I said, the Wizards are a flaming trash heap. Like they're a team with all the talent in the world and they're underperforming. Obviously, John Wall got injured, but like at this point in the year, it didn't even matter. Like they were already underperforming so poorly. Bradley Beal's got a ton of potential still. I'm still on his train. Otto Porter, maybe he'll bounce back to be an above-average player, but you paid him a stupid contract. Somebody's going to eat that contract because they think they can make him a better player, but he just doesn't have the right attitude to like take over a team, I feel. He doesn't want the ball in his hands often, and he's hesitant to take shots. I don't know if that's just been drilled in his head by playing with two alphas like Bradley Beal and John Wall, where he doesn't feel deserving to take a majority of shots, but he's an excellent shooter. By all standards, he was an excellent shooter. He's a great defender. So I look to see them go for Nasir Little, someone who tons of potential, longer-term project, but at the same time has the highest potential outcome of anyone left in the draft in my mind, outside of a Bol, but because of his injury, I can't put Bol that high.
Sorry, now I'm reading more about Kevin Porter Jr. Apparently, a guy who graduated from his high school, some guy named Jamal Crawford, became a father figure to him. So, kind of a happier ending. So that's pretty good. So he has found a father figure.
Yeah,
I didn't know what a father figure was until he found Jamal Crawford. I feel a little bit better now. Way to go, Jay Smooth. Jay Crossover, whatever his nickname is. Shout out to Jamal Crawford. So,
Did you say Jay Smooth?
I forget what his name is.
I believe that's an actor, if I'm not... or a comedian, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. Just shout out to Jamal Crawford then. Anyways, I agree, though. Flaming pile of trash heap, and I think that potential is too much to pass up when you're at that position. And also, you get rid of Oubre, Otto Porter, like you mentioned. Like I think
either
Little will be a good fit.
Somebody might pick him up, or he just learns to play better, and they roll with him at the 4. Deal with it.
I think Nasir Little would be a really good fit though, with the Wizards.
To the question, would he even get minutes? I'm just saying, they got a certain first-round pick on their team right now.
Also, Scott Brooks. And, same position,
Troy Brown Jr.
Yeah, same position,
Well, Troy Brown's more of a 2, but he's a 2-3 ball handler.
Yeah.
So, different skill set, but yeah.
But then if they don't try Bradley Beal, they have Nasir Little. That motherfucker ain't getting minutes.
I hate the Wizards.
Anyways,
move on.
Let's go to 7. New Orleans Pelicans. I have him going Jarrett Culver. You have Keldon Johnson, Ricky, from Kentucky, and Dave has him going Jarrett Culver. I'll throw it to you, Ricky, for Keldon Johnson. We talked about Jarrett Culver a little bit already. So tell us about Keldon Johnson. Why is he up this high? Because he's kind of a riser.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting because what I would really, 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 really want them to take is a point guard. But I sat here at 7, was like, is 7 too high for Darius Garland right now? And I was like, yes. In my mind, Darius Garland, maybe a little bit too high to be putting him at 7 at this point. If he comes back for the workouts and plays for the workouts, maybe can rise his stock into top 10 levels. But other than that, I just look at what else is available. And I'm still not completely sold on Romeo Langford yet. So I look at, the 2-3, Keldon Johnson, DeAndre Hunter. I'm going to go with Johnson over Hunter because, for Hunter, and maybe this is a bad stereotype I put him in, I look at his defense more than his offense. And where Keldon Johnson has been popping off offensively a little bit as of late, I'm going to go more with that than the defensive-heavy Hunter.
Jamal Crawford's Twitter is Jay Crossover, so that's what I meant.
Jay Crossover.
All right, my bad. Dave, though, with the Keldon Johnson thing, him rising up, what Ricky's brought up, why is Culver still there? I know you're a big fan of Culver, and you also have Keldon Johnson rising up your boards. Why not go Keldon Johnson here? Why do you like Culver over Johnson?
I wanted to put Keldon Johnson there 100%. Because you were here when I made the freaking thing last minute as hell for this mock. It's just I couldn't decide.
So what ended up pushing it over? And did Ricky's possibly change your mind?
I want to have a 3 there. The problem is that obviously Jarrett Culver's a 2, but if he falls too far, none of the teams after this really fit perfectly in my mock, and maybe I overreached for fit in a lot of these scenarios. But I thought Jarrett Culver's talent demanded that he be taken at this point because I think that maybe I'm wrong with there's 4 and then there's everybody else. Maybe it's like 4 and then 2 and then 2 and then
Well, I mean, there could be different tiers.
Cliffs. It's smaller cliffs, I think.
Why do you think they need a 3 exactly?
The Pelicans. You've seen the Pelicans.
But they've also
people know.
They've been rolling out Etuan, and Etuan's going to be on next year.
Needs to be a starter. He's been shied off the bench.
And they've played with the 3 before.
Right.
So possibly. And Culver is longer. So then you could possibly defensively put Culver on the 3s.
You could. I just think that talent-wise, he's so freaking good. Even if you have to move Drew to the 1 again, it's worth taking Culver there because right now you have just such a terrible defensive team when you don't have AD and Drew out there together. Excuse me. And I think that adding Jarrett Culver to that really helps them a lot because their wing defense is atrocious. And the fact that people can abuse Nico Mirotic and Randall in the low post and coming down from the outside to the low post, you need someone who can at least ensure that, like, look, you got Drew on their number 1 guard, and then you can move Jarrett Culver over to guard a wing or a guard, either or. Like, he's flexible. And I think that you end up with that secondary ball handler off of Drew, which is great because Drew doesn't want to be a primary ball handler anyway. That he's notoriously been better when there's a true point guard out there. And we even saw it. Even Alfred Payton out there helped him out as being a 2 guard.
And obviously Rondo, too.
Rondo was enormous, obviously. But, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, even the shitty version of Rondo and Alfred Payton, like, you still see Drew happier, playing better, and more engaged. He's fallen off from what he did last year, no doubt. But I still think that adding him and maybe shifting everybody over one spot, best case scenario, because Jarrett Culver is it just seems like a better prospect right now than Keldon Johnson.
How tempted were you then to put Darius Garland to the Pelicans?
So tempted. So tempted. You have no idea. Because I watched all of his highlights. I literally went back, grabbed every game he played, and then I grabbed one of the, like, what's the AAU games. And I'm just like, I really like the way he moves with the ball in his hands. He is clean. He's so good. And he's got good enough size. And he's got good enough court vision. But he's a pure scorer out there, which is awesome. So I think that's the thing is, like, I'm close to rising on him again. Never going to play a game in college. I don't care.
And that's one thing, too, where we come back to the talent level. And that's, if someone had this injury last year, they'd definitely fall like 5 spots. And Garland hasn't fell much for us. And that's why I keep wondering, like, where is this talent cut off?
There's
why
there's only one point guard in the draft.
Mr. Little.
It's Ja. And then after that, there's literally I will say, there is a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, there's Ja and there's everybody else.
You've got
Darius Garland.
You got Trey Jones, who's good, but, like, we talked about Cam Reddish and what he's had to deal with, being the 4th behind the 3 Dukies and not being in there, like.
But I don't think Trey Jones is a 1 on any team.
No, but, like, he's not the number 1 scoring option, but he's a good point guard and can help out a team. But, like, no one even thinks about him because it's like, oh, Duke. You got the 3 Dukies in front of him. It's just kind of a more extreme than what we mentioned with Cam.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just don't see, like, I'm sorry, Trey Jones, I don't see the star potential. Your brother's in the league, and he's also backup trash. So,
I mean,
suck it, Minnesota.
He could be better than...
we've been in this room for like an hour and 20 minutes. I am on fire right now.
Yeah.
So it's just coming out. Sorry.
I'm not blaming you. I think it's interesting, though, at least, because they do have flexibility. Because even then, you look at the 4, and possibly do they even go Hachimura? Because if they're getting rid of Mirotic,
right?
But his contract's up at the end of the year. Then do they think that's a necessary position to attack?
I don't. I think that they try to go for a 5 and get AD out of that center position as soon as possible. Because if he's not happy, we all know what's going to happen.
Let's move now into the 8 spot, T-Wolves. I have DeAndre Hunter. Ricky has DeAndre Hunter. Dave has DeAndre Hunter. Is this the most boring pick in the world?
Well, if Thibodeau is there and DeAndre Hunter is the best on the board, take him. It's defense.
Didn't we say with marketing draft, they traded for Butler?
Yeah, I know. But, I don't think they're going to trade for Butler. They have Rocco,
too, so...
I mean, they do have Rocco, but Rocco can't play every minute of every game.
I was saying he's hurt right now, too, which sucks. But, like, Rocco can guard, 2, 3, 4. DeAndre Hunter can guard 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
And Hunter's an older player, so it's not
exactly.
Like
he's not a rookie. Even when he comes in the league,
Wasn't Jimmy like 23, 24 when he came in the league?
Jimmy was old.
22? I mean,
but
right now he's
we
like
also
21.
were pretty stacked on that team, to be fair, at the time. He was not a better player at the time. So...
I just think it's boring just because DeAndre Hunter is, no offense to DeAndre Hunter, I think his ceiling is an NBA starter. I think his floor is like a very good bench player. But I don't think there's that like Mikal Bridges, like he can be a star at some point.
Do you think he's similar line to like he's just a better shooting coming into the league? Rocco.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
he's a prototype. You know, he's what everybody wants is just a generic 3-and-D wing. He's somebody who could go along in what Trevor Reeves is doing this year, basically. I'm not saying prime Trevor Reeves because that's a different story, but like what Trevor's doing this year and like last year. Well, like that's sort of like where we expect him to be at.
And I think one thing too with Hunter is he is a leader. I think that's one big thing. I mean, you look at what happened to them when he got injured.
They lost to a 16 seed.
They lost to a 16 seed. That's the only time it's ever happened. And I think that's a big part of DeAndre Hunter not being out there because again, he would have been able to guard Jarius Lyles and be able to slow them down, or whoever Mora was.
And not even just that. Like before that even happened, like I remember the injury happened, and before they lost to the UMBC, is Jay Billis came on the bracket show and was like, "Yeah, I would have them as my champion, but now that DeAndre Hunter is going to miss the entire tournament, they're like." Don't pick them to win it all. And that's how important he was to that team.
And that's the most credible college basketball analyst in Jay Billis saying that. Like, that's huge. And obviously we saw what the effect was in the actual tourney. So I think that could actually, his leadership could take over too. And if they do lose D Rose, not losing some leadership and having a guy that's not afraid to step up, at least on the floor, would help that team as well. Because you sure as hell know Wiggins is doing that, calling the fans shit. So like I think that, or half the fans shit. I think that would be huge, and also that would mean you could take off Wiggins at some point, at least on the floor if he's not getting it done defensively, because Hunter does provide that, and you wouldn't have a ton of scorers out there because then you're giving away Wiggins, but also is Wiggins even a scorer anymore? Let's move now to the 9th spot though. I have Kevin Porter, Ricky you have Hachimura, and then Dave you have Darius Garland. We haven't talked about Hachimura, so throw it out there, Ricky. Why Hachimura to the Magic?
I like what he's able to do. He could be, for me, like Brandon and I talked about it in the we kind of did almost the same thing that you guys did with Ball with the questioning of could he be the next Giannis? No, he's not the next Giannis, but I do think he's got similar skills of like, hey, could play the 4 but also can handle the ball for a team. And for a team like the Magic that need a ball handler, could just go at BPA here, he is the guy on my board that's like, yep, he's the next best player. That's who the Magic go with, and just keep going.
Just BPA.
Well, this is straight BPA, and he could be. He to me is one of those picks that is like we could look back on it and go like, man, he was a sleeper.
And that's fair. The only reason I bring it up, though, is just because you look at the build of that team, and you have Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Aaron Gordon. That's a lot of players, especially for the position he's going to be playing.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe one of them, maybe like a Vus or a Aaron Gordon get moved.
But who knows? Vus or Gordon gets moved, or like only one of them, there's still 3 players in Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, and Gordon.
The Magic, unless you're drafting a point guard, like it's a logjam there. So I mean, they're gonna have to figure that out.
I think the Magic have to look 1 or 2. No disrespect, Ricky, but like I just think that Gordon's the only one who could be, and that's just purely contractual. Like they're just like, we want to get more minutes for younger guys. We know what we get out of you, and we're not going to pay you max shelf money.
And also, we can get something big for you.
Absolutely, because Vucevic has no trade value apparently, even though he's the best center in the league right now. Take my word on it.
No, he's not.
Straight up. But I think you have to go 1 or 2. You have to go 1 or 2.
Real quick, just because you keep saying straight up, people don't know.
Sorry.
3 years ago, if they don't know, 3 years ago, we probably explained it enough. But 3 years ago, we made a thing about, who was it? Bismack Biyombo.
It's your boy Vigberg.
No, we're talking about Bismack, the OG version of it.
Vigberg did not say that.
I thought he was he's the one on Twitter that always.
He's the Magic fan, but he did not say straight up. It was we shit on the Magic for saying that they had 10 bad starters and that they signed another one in Bismack Biyombo. And obviously they traded him away because it was a horrible contract. But someone said Vucevic is great, Draymond for Vucevic straight up, and we laughed our asses off because you're talking about defensive player of the year.
Comment.
And now I think it'd be an unfair trade the way that Draymond's been playing for Vucevic. And maybe it's a little bit of an overreaction, but yeah, I mean, maybe they're making us eat our words finally after 3 years.
They knew something we didn't. I still would like the fit better, but whatever. whatever. I just think that Magic, you have to go 1 or 2. Like, they got their lineup is the big lineup. They got Bamba, Isaac, and Gordon together. That's their future. I think outside of that, nothing else has been locked in. They like a couple of the other guys out there. Obviously, you're getting a ton of points out of Fournier, but I just think that's empty points on a bad team. I'll be honest. Like, it's bad, but like I think they have to go point guard or they have to go 2 guard here. And Darius Garland has so much potential as a great scorer and a okay facilitator. Like, that's the guy I want. 100% Magic. You should have taken a point guard last year. You didn't.
And if they don't this year, what do you think they're passing it up for?
They're praying. Oh, if they pass up in the draft, that means they've already got a wink, wink, nudge, nudge in free agency. I'm hoping, because if they fuck that up again, Jesus. If they did not go Garland here on my board, I would probably look for a Keldon Johnson, who would be happy to play a 2 guard for them. Still has good size, decent length.
6'6".
Not quite, the 7-foot reach though. So maybe you go. Yeah, I don't know. Who's the 2 guard with the longest reach? Like
maybe Romeo. That's why I kept saying KZ.
Yeah, Romeo's on my board. KZ, I think he's going to be more of a 3, and I think you already have something special with Isaac.
Well, no, but the joke I made was that he was a guard, then grew 10 inches, so that's a perfect Magic.
You're right. Right.
That's the only reason why I would say that. And, but no, I agree.
On my board, Romeo would actually be a really good fit. That's a good call.
Romeo's wingspan is 6'11". He's 6'6", but a 6'11" wingspan.
So if you're not going Darius Garland, you're looking at Keldon or more likely a Romeo Langford.
And that's the one thing that I think Romeo does have over Keldon is the ability to move the ball. Because Keldon has not done that in Kentucky, and that's not.
Keldon plays better defense though.
Yes,
individual defense. I know Romeo, like you said, Romeo plays in a good system. I'd like to see him on his own when he bulks up to an NBA size.
100%.
But right now,
with the Magic, team defense is huge just because you have Gordon, you have Isaac, you have Bamba.
Yep.
If
they touch hands, they cross America.
Exactly.
It's hands cross America with like 3 guys.
That helps Romeo Langford. Again, putting him back into a system.
Yeah.
I think that might be the player I would go with if I'm coming down to Keldon Johnson or Romeo. But I think Garland, again, when it comes to draft time, that could be a sensible pick. I go Kevin Porter, obviously. Not a huge knock on him. I do worry a little bit about the injury. He can rise up. He can fall back down. He could stay where he is. But I think that I needed to put him down a little bit because I'm not fully sold on it because I haven't seen enough out of him. But even then, at that point, the Magic, if he is going to be a combo guard, it's too much to pass up on it. Finally, last pick, Nets. I have Hachimura. Ricky, you have Romeo Langford. Dave, you have Hachimura. Why do the Nets make this pick, Ricky? Romeo Langford.
For me, and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you're talking about this drop-off, this is where it happens. Where the Nets are in a position where if I'm going Dave and I'm going more fit-wise, Nasir Little's the guy I pick because they literally, after this year, unless they re-sign one of them, don't have a power forward on the roster. And the Nets are a team that could take on a project like a Nasir Little, but I sit there and I look and I go, you know what? Romeo's there. I don't know if I could pass on Romeo with him being available, although I already have a ton of 2 guards, and when Karras comes back, he is my 2 guard. I mean, with me, it's another BPA, and we'll just figure out how to make it work, but maybe Nasir Little would be more of a fit than Romeo Langford.
Well, I'll bring this up because in 1.0, you probably had this guy as a BPA, Bol. Why not Bol here?
Injury. It's all about the injury right now. That's why he's out of my top 10.
But do you think he's the best player available still?
No, because of the injury.
The
injury
you think top
to
end
me,
potential, you're
what he falls that much.
Let's see. Right now, that's where I'm at. It obviously could change, but Ball's out of my top 10 with this injury.
We're all same thinking on where he's going to go. Not going to spoil it, but I just wonder, at least when it comes to BPA, I think personally, although the injury does happen, I still think he's probably the best player available.
If the injury
in my mind.
If the injury did not happen, he would have been in my top 10 somewhere.
All right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And he was top 5, I think, a lock for us. Dave, though, you have Hachimura. Why do you think he's a fit for the Nets? And then also with the Bol thing, why not Bol here?
Sure.
Why Hachimura over Bol?
Sure. So Hachimura is an already established player in college. He's gotten better every single year. He's been there. His shot's gotten better. He's gotten more comfortable bringing that shot further outside, which is absolutely wonderful. I think the Nets right now are a team that's getting a little taste of success. And that's even with him struggling through injuries year after year, which is incredibly frustrating. After last year watching Jeremy Lin go down opening night, me almost crying over it. And then this year, having your boy, Karis LeVert, absolutely...
Who should be coming back this season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like that's the saving grace. Is like, okay, well, he was injured in the past. He got hurt again. Freak accident, though. I'm not thinking this is going to be a injury-prone player yet. I'm not penning him down. But I think they're a team that, in the East, if they added someone like a Rui Hachimura, he's someone who can contribute day one to this team. He brings, like Ricky said, he has a handle for the ball. He can facilitate a little bit, and he brings you that scoring punch that they need down low for the most part, because they rely heavily on Jarrett Allen, and then they are rolling out those laps where they're going like, let's play 2 shooting guards and roll down to 4, or let's try to mix things up, and like they're desperate to have a 4 on that team, in my mind, from watching this year, and it's just, if they add someone who is a ready-made player, he's already what, 22? I don't want to get that wrong, but I feel
Hachimura?
like, yeah.
Let me check.
Thank you. And I just feel like him on that team fits their timeline. They're a team who
20.
He's only 20. Wow, I am totally wrong. So at 20, whatever, he's doing awesome, and I think that he fits the timeline a whole lot better because he's got so much more experience than any other kid at this point in the draft.
Going to be 21 February 8th.
Oh, okay,
and the thing I'm going to throw out there too is, you mentioned like, oh, the scoring down low.
Yep.
He has the ability for me to develop an outside game because he's before was like, oh, I didn't shoot that good. Like 28% is the highest I've shot from 3. This year is shooting 1 more attempt per game. Yeah, it's only like 1.3 per game being attempted, which isn't a lot, but he's shooting 45%. So maybe,
Right.
hey, we work on
just
that.
adding the
we
shot
work
to the
that
game
volume. Yeah.
changes the way people defend him.
And the thing, too, with Hachimura is he's very comfortable mid-range. So, again, I talked about this with, I think, in Nasir Little.
Yeah.
Again, if you're comfortable in the mid-range, just, again, it's all about practice. Start stepping up because you have that form. You need to build up that ability to, get your legs underneath it and consistently, to have that power, to have that ability to drive through it. And it's not too much power to add onto your shot. It's more of a thing like, oh, it looks farther away, so you just need to get really that range down because, again, like
don't overdevelop your shoulders and fuck it up like Mark Fultz did when he tried to muscle up threes.
Exactly.
But no, I love the young nuts core, and I think that he is like a perfect fit to their timeline.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what they need, and I think he's the best healthy available player too.
Yeah,
I think that's something
he's
too.
proven. That's the difference between him and like a lot of the guys after him. Is you go, oh, here's a proven college player, and then let's go back to potential.
And my thing too is like I brought up the Bobo thing just because I kept saying when we were talking about it, he what is he going to do? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? He's thin as a rail, and he obviously his father was not a guy who bulked up. Will he be able to add that bulk and be able to play in the NBA? And obviously 2 months into college, he's getting injured. And yes, it wasn't like he hurt his foot, so it wasn't anything super horrible.
Nobody snapped his leg in half, even though it looks like they could be done easily.
Exactly. I just worry, though, again, how will he be able to hold up in the NBA for 82 games? This was 12 games that he ended up getting hurt for. So my worst fears already happened. That's why I cannot trust him in the top 10.
Yeah, I would have loved the fit, though, because I think at the 4, he is a perfect fit for them. Like he comes
especially
in,
next to Jarrett Allen.
Big scorer, and you got Aaron. Yeah, you have Jarrett Allen covering, being the big body down low. That way that he can just help out with that defense, just reach over like 3 guys, and just, alter shots.
Monster it.
Yep, absolutely.
Before we get to our next segment, just want to drop our Patreon in. I know I did it last time in the end of the last segment, but I want to do it now because I was told to do it, and I was going to do iTunes, Patreon, and then Blog Talk Radio. So I'm going to do Patreon now, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you do want to be on a podcast, check out that $10 tier. You can come on every single month, pick one topic, and talk to your favorite podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast. Or you could even, go at the $5 range or the $2 range.
Not even that. $2, $1 gets you that exclusive Patreon podcast,
which are going to be really weird.
Yes, extremely weird. I wonder what we're going to talk about when us 3 do it. But we'll figure it out, and maybe you can listen if you become a Patreon. But let's move into the next segment. That's 11 through 20. Ricky, start us off.
Well, starting off at number 11, the Utah Jazz going to go Nasir Little, the forward out of North Carolina. Then at number 12, the Celtics via the Grizz going with Dave Ball. Did I say that right? Ball? Not Ball? Ball? Just wanted to make sure I'm saying it right. Ball, the center out of Oregon. Then his teammate, Lewis King, the forward, going at 13 to the Hawks via the Mavs. Then the Celtics via the Kings, going with Luguentz Dort, the guard from Arizona State. Pistons at 15 going Darius Garland, the point guard from Vandy. Then at 16, the Hornets going with Brandon Clark, forward from Gonzaga. Then at 17, Sekou Demboya, the forward from France, going to the Heat at 17. Lakers taking the Gaff man, Daniel Gafford, centered from Arkansas. 19, the Spurs go with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, guard from VT. And then rounding it out at 20, Celtics, again, this time via the Clippers, go with Charles Bassey, the center from Western Kentucky.
Dave, 11 through 20.
Sure thing. My number 11 pick is Keldon Johnson going to the Jazz. At 12, I've got Bol Bol going to the Celtics. At 13, I have Romeo Langford falling to the Hawks. 14, I've got the Celtics, another project, Sekou Demboya. At 15, I've got the Pistons taking KZ Okpala. 16, Hornets going Brandon Clark. 17, I've got the Heat taking Kobe White. At 18, I've got the Lakers also taking Daniel Gafford. There's a theme here. At 19, I've got the Spurs going Jonte Porter. And at 20, I've got the Celtics taking Jackson Hayes.
My guy. The guy I wanted to talk about last 1.0, 21 through 30.
Yeah?
Loved him. Love seeing you guys come around. I see Ricky even got him in his
I'm going to make
as
a
well.
change because I didn't realize I have the Celtics going with two centers. Dietrich Lawson going to the Celtics at 20 instead of Charles Bassey.
There you go. I mean, Bobo isn't for sure a center.
I mean,
I see him as a 4
yeah,
in
he's
my
a
mind.
4-5.
You know what? I'll leave it then. Charles Bassey to the Celtics.
Very cool. My 11 through 20. 11, I have the Jazz taking Darius Garland, guard out of Vanderbilt. At 12, the theme continues. Bol goes to the Celtics, the center out of Oregon. 13, Hawks via the Mavs go Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. 14, Celtics again go Sekou Demboya. 15, Pistons go KZ Okpala. Dave and I look very similar outside of the Keldon Johnson and Romeo Langford. 16, Hornets going Jonte Porter. 17, Heat going Luguentz Dort. 18, we have the Lakers going Daniel Gafford. 19, Spurs going Charles Bassey. And number 20, the Celtics going with my boy, Naz Reid. Fell off a little bit, but still love him. I don't care if he's lazy, love him. I love him.
He's got all the talent in the world in his body.
Like I said earlier,
He puts in some hard work.
If we were picking straight from the 30 guys in our mock draft to play 2-on-2 and Zion was off the board, I think Naz Reid would be my second one. Just because I think in a 2-on-2, 1-on-1 setting, Naz Reid would turn it up. When it comes to a team game, I don't know if he's really all there. If basketball was a 1-on-1 sport, Naz Reid's a talented kid who can ball out. Anyways, we are going to be talking about the Celtics 3 picks in this segment. We're going to be talking about Bol Bol's injury. We're going to be talking about KZ Okpala, Jonte Porter, the Lakers as well, and then we'll all talk about one prospect that we like. And let's start off with the big man, Bol Bol, center out of Oregon. Had surgery on his foot. He's going to be out for the rest of the season and has declared for the NBA draft. So, guys, let's talk about that injury. You guys mentioned it a little bit on the Primetime podcast. It wasn't fully announced that he was going to be out for the season, but you were acting like it was. So are you not really shocked, is it? But is this the right choice for him in your mind?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned to Dave, because at the time where Dave and I talked about it, it was he had already missed 3 games. There was like no timetable for his return. Even his coach, Dana Altman's like, yeah, he's being reevaluated, where I'm like, that's not good when you're a big guy of his size with that injury. And to me, like, this is like, I just start slowly raising that red flag. And I'm like, I'm not waving it yet, but it's here, and I've got my arm up.
And the reason why some people might be, it's a stupid question, of course, going to the NBA. My thing is, is it going to tank his value so much? And so far it hasn't, Dave, because obviously he's still a lottery pick. But, did you have any inkling that he should return or possibly try to push it back to return this season to try to at least save his draft stock and try to, stay in the top 10? Or do you think this is a smart move?
Are you thinking the line of like a Kevin Porter where he forced himself back at the end of the year? Just be like, Michael Porter, thank you.
Yeah.
Where he's like, look, I'm healthy. I can totally still play basketball. And then we haven't seen him in the NBA this year.
I think the thing more is that his was I think Michael was doing it more to not give up on his team.
Okay.
And I think that, even if he performed well in that, like the medicals are still the medicals.
Yeah.
And that's what really raised red flags. And he even had to get a second surgery after he was drafted.
Correct.
So maybe it's, self-preservation, which I'm fine with, but I just worry, like, is it going to hurt his draft stock too much where if he came back next year, would he be able to be like a top 5 pick again? That's the only thing that I would be questioning and weighing, but then you also run the risk of injury. So
I mean, here's the thing is he was mocked as, basically a 4 through 8, early on because he is a 7'2", 3 with a 7'9" wingspan. something in that range, and he's potentially not done growing yet, because why not? I mean, that doesn't change. His draft stock basically doesn't change unless it is a serious injury that has a chance of reoccurring at a high level. I think that's the thing is I'm happy it's not a back injury. I'm happy it's not a ACL, MCL. Like, as far as injuries go, foot, you can have an issue with it. And yes, there is a chance it can reoccur and it could take you out, but it's not on the same level of severity as those other two injuries. So I say it's not the worst case scenario. He still is who he is. He's offensively gifted. He has a unique skill set and body size to do something that very few men in the NBA have ever done. So I think that he's pretty safe on his draft stock, and I would honestly not be surprised to see him stay right in that, late lotto to mid lotto range. Like, if he goes anywhere from like 6 to probably 15, I think he's locked in that rate. I don't think anyone could take. I don't think he makes it out of the lottery. Zero chance he makes it out of the lottery. But I think there's a better chance that if we see him healthy and moving come combine time or during workouts with a team, there's a chance he goes right back to where he was. I don't think there's any need for him to come back in college and play a single minute. I think that's a safe bet on his end.
And I think the thing with what you were saying was there's no way he's going to fall out of the lottery just because he is a risk. But
correct.
You look at the Celtics, the team that we all had him going to is, the first shot they had at him, they take him because the talent is there, but the health isn't.
Yeah.
And the Celtics have 3 picks in this range, and obviously they can take a shot and a gamble on this kid because if he is a top 5 talent and he doesn't have that injury, if those injury problems exist, you as the Celtics, a playoff team with 3 picks in this range, go out and get the possible, take a shot. Why not?
Yeah.
You have plenty of
There's
bullets to
harm.
waste. So that's the thing where, maybe
and they can
the injury...
redshirt him too.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing is he is on a timetable of his own to come back at this point. And that's the thing. I would not rush anything. And even if you feel like you're 100% healthy, go ahead and take some time in the NBA. Let the Celtics doctors decide what's best for you, because I don't think that there should be any rush to get you back playing because your body needs time to
Heal.
Well, not only heal, but like he needs time to grow into his body a little bit better. And I don't know that he ever will. Like, he'll never bulk up and be like yoked out, but like I still think that there is definitely some muscle he can put on in the right areas that'll help him sustain better at the NBA level. Not quite Harry Giles level bad where he had to like completely rehab for a full 2 years basically to get his knees back to the point of like, hey, I'm a great athlete again. But I think that something along those lines can be done where he's not on that instant timetable to play his rookie year right off the bat, being on a team like the Celtics where they have, like you said, such draft capital and so many picks, and then they've got tons of contract room to make decisions. So I think that is like the ideal situation for him is that he falls to the Celtics.
My biggest thing with at least, Bol Bol is then the comparison of KP. And KP's had 6 injuries since he turned pro. One of them was a foot injury. So it's like, is this already the signs of him cracking and breaking down? Again, this is set off by, the reason why Michael Porter went to the Nuggets and we all thought it was a steal, or I thought it was a possible steal after I did the drafting, was because this is a playoff team. Obviously, they're number 1 team in the West. They don't need a Michael Porter Jr. But if he comes back and he's ever healthy, that's an immediate boost for your team. So my thing with the Celtics is you don't need him right away. You could take this shot and not waste anything. But I do have serious concerns still about his career because he's already getting injured. He's already breaking down. We haven't seen him go up against NBA-level bigs yet in his college career. What will he actually do at that next level is still a big question. And then also, can he even stay healthy to prove that? That's a big question I still have with Bol Bol. And that's not going to go away with him getting injured.
The first thing before I go off into what you said, it's like I'm looking at a tweet from Sam Viceni from The Athletic. And he says he wrote about Bol Bol. Most executives at that point felt that he was a risk, but a risk someone would likely plunge into, taking somewhere in 5 to 10.
Yeah.
And then he goes, foot injuries are big. Foot injury for bigs obviously makes that murkier. And for me, that's why if I'm in the top 10, obviously with this foot injury as of right now, I wouldn't touch him. But the Celtics, the true question is, are they going to keep the picks? If they keep the picks, I'm right with you. Let's take them.
It's house money.
I've got how many? I've got 4 picks to work with in this draft. Let me go ahead and take them. I can stash them. I can do whatever I want with them. Or they could use it if they're going to trade of like, hey, who wants this pick?
Yeah, right now they're dealing with 12, 14, 18, and 12, 14, 20, and 22. So what is the likelihood that they keep all 4 picks in your guys' mind? Is this something that they do use as ammo to make a trade? Not like an Anthony Davis trade or possibly an Anthony Davis trade. Is this ammo that they try to use to make a trade to help this team now, or is it something that they use all of these picks and possibly try to move up, or is it something that they're going to keep all 4 picks? What are your guys' ideas?
4 first rounders for Justice Winslow.
My first answer is Danny Ainge is still the GM, correct? Then 0% that he keeps all of them. I don't know if it's for a big free agent. I'm even thinking of maybe
not free agent.
Well, like if it's like, hey, we're gonna use them to get somebody from a different team. For me, they could move up. I'm thinking Danny Ainge, though. It's more of like, all right, 12 rolls around. Who wants something? Because the guy that I want, I don't really want to reach for him here, and I want to try to get something out of you while giving you what you want at 12. They could, but like I look at Danny Ainge being the guy that's like, unless he really likes somebody that's ahead, he's going to be like, the guy I really like is below 12. Who can I sucker into?
If there was a player in the top, say 8 to 10 range, from 1 to 10 range, like who would they try, like fit wise? What do you think? Obviously, I'm taking Zion off. No one's going to trade Zion basically for 4 mid-round firsts. But is there a prospect in that top grouping that you think the Celtics would find intriguing enough to move some draft capital for?
Nope. The only thing they need is a big who can rebound. They haven't been able to rebound for the past 3 years. Still have not been able to.
I'm with you.
They need somebody who can rebound. I do not see anybody who makes that happen. You don't need another wing on that team. You have Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
If they want a Morris, obviously.
Yeah, Morris as well.
Yeah.
Then you look at the guard position. They have Marcus Smart, Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier. Like, what does this team need outside of a rebounding big? I do not see that in the top 10.
And that's not the top. Exactly. That's my thought. I'm with you, Ricky. I think
there's only one guy.
One guy.
And that's Hachimura, but I wouldn't pull that trigger.
I don't see him as
like he's the only one
big
that I could see. Like, yeah, he's not a rebounding big, but like if Danny Ainge falls in love with him and thinks that he's going to be a next great player in the league, then the Celtics would pull a move. Otherwise, no. The one thing I will say, we talked about him in the first segment, Nasir Little, the Celtics would be a great spot for him because A, he wouldn't be expected to contribute right away. He gets to work with Brad Stevens, which, like, if you're talking about, if it's like, hey, it's not Nasir's fault, it's the coaching's fault, Brad Stevens is not going to be like a guy that's as hard-headed as what it may seem like Roy Williams is. He'll actually work with Nasir, maybe get the most out of him in that year that we thought he'd be a project. That's with me more of like the Celtics is who can they take in that in this range is that they can develop and really, because how many of these guys do you really say like, oh, I'm going to take him because he's going to contribute right away to this already nicely, I don't want to say stacked, but nicely put together team.
Yeah, I think that if Bobo fell to the Celtics here, Brad Stevens would throw a fucking parade. Like, he just big old grin, like, yep, that's my pick. Next.
I mean,
I don't think there's very little hesitation on his end because he's such a unique prospect. And the rest of them, they can look for stashes or they can try to trade back for future picks going forward. If somebody feels like, hey, I really like Lugan Dort, and you're like, I'm not feeling him. I'm not feeling him moving forward. Go ahead and you can jump up, take this pick from me, and I'll take yours next year.
Unprotected.
Well, I mean,
it's Danny Ainge, so they're going to get like something dirty.
You look at mine, if Darius Garland is still there,
my God,
what are the odds a team then jumps up to 12 to try to get that point guard that they want because of how, like, that cliff of, like, Ja and then everybody else?
Well, here, let me change the question then. Do you think they're going to come into the draft with 4 picks? And do draft day trades, or do you think they're going to make trades?
I think it'll be draft day.
They will be trades on draft day. Do they leave with all 4? Probably not. They'll probably leave with maybe, unless they like swap picks, they might leave with 4 later, but they will not leave with the 4 picks that they originally had coming into the night. That's what I think.
Right. I think that they will not be picking 4 times. I agree with that. I think there possibly is a move to be made this year, and if it is, I definitely see them going after and trying to get a rebounding big at some point this before the trade deadline comes up. Not sure who their dancing partner will be, but I definitely think that, again, like obviously they need scoring, and that's something that has not been consistently there for this Celtics team.
But they've got the guys. It's just, you need a consistency out of them.
And that's why I'm like,
night.
you don't need like a big name player. You just need somebody who can rebound. And it's not like an Aaron Baines level player. Like, you need somebody who can be like kind of pushing Horford for that spot. And maybe that is a guy like, Vucevic. And maybe, you play with those picks and try to get the Magic to get rid of them for like, that 20th pick or that 18th pick. Because, the dip between Horford and Vucevic, it is there. Horford's a better player. But Vucevic is a better rebounder. And if you're, struggling there, do you possibly try to get Vucevic, who's not going to bring down your offense, might even boost it a little bit with Horford, at least scoring-wise. And then, you have that rebounding big that comes in. I think that's definitely in play, that this team tries to go out and gets a rebounding big this year to help them, because Golden State looks weak. Milwaukee, although they've been fantastic, I don't think they're a for sure NBA contender yet. Same with Toronto. Toronto and Milwaukee haven't proved it yet. This is the Boston team that's gotten to the conference finals 2 years in a row. So I think this is something that, try to get that piece to fully make this the deepest team in the NBA. Use this draft capital. And, draft day's not really going to help you this year. And I think the Celtics are in a position to make a move this year to help them win this year. Because, again, the teams in the NBA, it's more even than it's ever been, but it's not as top-heavy as it was with Golden State. I think the East is more winnable than it's ever has been, and I think the Finals is more winnable than it's ever has been.
So with what the order, let's say the order it is what we have right now, and I'm using my mock, obviously, as the blueprint, because both of you had Garland going before the Celtics 12 pick. For me, if I'm the Celtics, I would maybe think about moving that 14th pick and maybe doing a pick swap with either the Pistons, Hornets, or Heat, because those can all be teams. The Pistons, I obviously have them go Darius Garland because I'm not sold on their point guards right now, and if he's there, go ahead and take him. The Hornets, if they're not really sure that Kemba's going to sign long-term, they might be in a little bit of panic mode, like, do we get that point guard? He's still there. And the Heat, like, the only point guard on their roster is Goran Dragic. He has the player op. Obviously, I think he's going to accept that, but he's the only true point guard you have on your roster. They could even trade up 3 spots for a point guard, and then the Celtics could trade down, and then they get maybe a center that they like, and they get closer to Gafford's range and could take Gafford at either like 16 or 17, and then boom, there's a guy that helps you and exactly what you need.
For sure.
Give you that sexy name for a rebounder they should go after before the season's over. Ed Davis.
Good old Nets.
Brooklyn likes him a lot.
Brooklyn
likes him a lot, to be fair. But I think for front pick, anybody's movable.
What's Ed Davis's contract like? Didn't he have a bad contract?
No,
4.4.
They got him on a good deal, honestly.
Nice.
And he's an energy guy.
He was only 6 for Portland. So yeah, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
Good energy guy, great rebounder.
I feel like it needs to be, if you're trading a first though.
Oh, you're not gonna get a first for him. You need
a little bit. No, like you need a little bit. Like if you're giving up a first, you need more.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Ed Davis is not worth a first round pick on his own.
But like Ed Davis, the 28th, and
or what if?
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell is thrown in the mix for 2 firsts.
Ooh.
So D'Angelo Russell, Ed Davis. I don't know what's going back to Brooklyn.
Kyrie better break a leg. That's what we're expecting. That's why they need D'Angelo Russell so bad. They need some ice in the veins.
No, but hell, I mean, it's going to bring offensive firepower, and he's going to be a restricted free agent. Like, and you just paid a ton of money to Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, I don't know, get something for the kid.
You're crazy.
I know.
You're crazy, Joe Rogan.
It's so hot in here. So
I know.
I'm just throwing out anything. Let's move on, though. Let's go to KZ Okpala. That's the next in the order, because then we got the Lakers and Jonte Porter coming up. Dave, we both have him going to the Pistons. Ricky, you have him going to the Pacers. So I'm not going to say why Dave and I are so high on him yet. Why do you have him at 27? What are you seeing that possibly we are? What are you seeing that we possibly aren't? I guess
I am just not. I feel like from you guys and mainly Dave over here. Dave has said before he falls in love.
In the hype train.
Well, he falls in love with players and then he drops them quicker than look at Luguentz Dort. You were so high on the first mock. Now you're like, well, he's trash. He's out of here. He hasn't played well in 4 games. So it's like
I'm a fickle man at times.
I feel like KZ. It's like
I
with me.
Later.
I'm not high on him. He is rising on mine. He's now in my mock. I just maybe a little bit of me, especially from Dave's mock, is like, oh, this is the guy Dave's high on. Let's see in the third if he's still high on him.
I just see that so far, what I have seen from him, the kid's a stud. And maybe he's not playing up against the best competition. I just called Pac-12 trash.
Yeah.
But seeing his ability to score, seeing his handle, like you said, he was a guard that sprouted up.
Yep.
I'm loving what I'm seeing from this kid, and I do think that he does have the potential to push lottery. I don't know if he's that next level yet, but I do think he can have that ability to push and possibly push that envelope to be a lottery pick. What downsides do you see of his game, though, Dave?
He's still growing his shot. He's got a solid form to it, but the confidence isn't there yet. Ball handling wise, he has a really good handle for a guy of his size. I think he's still very much learning how to use that size to his advantage. He doesn't work the low post nearly as much as he could at 6'8" right now. And honestly, the matchups he gets are usually advantageous to his end. So I'd like to see him start to use that more. He's got a quick stride to the lane. And when he's in the paint, I'd like to see him finish more. He settles for floaters and some weak layup-ish. I guess it looks like he's just throwing up there sometimes. So yeah, I'd like to see him. Obviously, he's a young kid, and I get it. Like, he grew into this all of a sudden. It's sudden growth. So like, he doesn't have the muscle there yet to really body down low. But what I'd love to see is he puts on some muscle. He's got a great handle for a guy, and for his size at 6'8", I'd love to see him aggressively throw down more, because he does it a couple times. You're like, oh shit. When he does that, and you watch him, it's like 3 strides to the lane, and just like, oh, it's so clean. But he doesn't do it. He doesn't rely on that as much as he could, because it's just 3 points. So all around, ton of potential. Yes, absolutely ton of potential. Defensively, you're basically going, he plays okay defense. He has the potential to play better because of his size and his frame. Mm-hmm. It's there. It's just we're not going to see it at this level. That's my thoughts.
He's a guy too that, you know, he grew in high school, and it's just insane that he, you know, sprouted as much as he did. And then the other thing too, in reading about him, his parents are from Nigeria, and one thing that I read and really stuck out, his parents told him to never stop working. And like, you read stuff like that, and you know, we talk about a guy like Jaylen Brown, who came out of the Pac-12, who always wanted to get better, always wanted to learn. Like, I don't know what Jaylen Brown has to do with KZ Okpala, but at least think about mental makeup. Yeah. I think that that's something that is huge. And with being a guy who grew up as a guard, we saw this in Anthony Davis. You know, having that ability and being able to exploit people who aren't your size with your speed and your handles, and then also being able to grow. That's why I'm not too worried about the shot. That's why I'm not too worried about the body, because once you hit the NBA, you'll be able to fill out a little bit more. And this kid has a lot to fill out, because he is 6'9", grew, you know, a ton in high school, and never really filled out a ton. And he looks like he's even got skinnier from high school to college.
He didn't put on weight. He just got taller.
Exactly.
He just stretched him.
Well, no, but even in high school, he was 6'8", and he looked like chunky. Now he looks like he did the opposite of a freshman 15, and like lost some weight or something. He's fitting in at 6'9", 180. Like, this kid has room to grow. And he came in as a 4-star prospect. Like, he does have this ability that was seen in high school, and it's not like it came out of nowhere. And you see it now translating to college. The biggest thing that I do want to see is just, you know, him go up against better competition and what he's going to do in a night in, night out basis. What you laughing at, Ricky?
I'm going through Twitter, and one of the tweets is Bill Walton just asked if KZ Okpala is related to Jay-Z.
That's
pretty good.
Do you think he can sustain the high level of shooting he's at right now, though? That's the thing I wonder. I'm like, 47% from the field and 48% from 3 on just under 3 attempts a game. I think that is... Look, his shot's good, but like, I don't think it's that good.
Well,
no offense to him.
One thing you look at it is you look at the game against Kansas. You know, big game, goes up and shoots 3 of 5 from 3. Up against UNC, goes 1 of 2 from 3. And you look going to Kansas again. This is at Allen Fieldhouse of all places. Goes 5 of 6 from the line. There's some shaky nights where it's like 6 of 12 against San Jose from State. 6 of 12 from the line against San Jose State. But again, like, there's 11 of 13 game against Seattle. Like, he's shooting 74% from the line, which doesn't make me worry too much about a shot. And again, being a guard, like, you know, that really taught you to like shoot from the outside and try to exploit using your speed. But you know, it's when you're a guard of that size, I know I'm not a crazy talented basketball player, but my options when I was playing basketball, at least, in grade school, was either drive to the lane and, attack the basket, which I was afraid to do, or chuck up a ton of threes. Mm-hmm. So I think that, the ability of getting into the mindset of shooting is there. And I think that's something that is big for a player is you have that mindset and you can always work on it. And again, going back to what I talked about with his parents, giving him that work ethic, if he's able to take that work ethic, putting it into a shot, I think that it can become consistent.
KZ Okpala, to me, what I think is, and what kind of plays into this too, is conference play is going to hurt him, I'm going to say, because I feel like he's going to be underrated, overlooked, because the Pac-12 is overlooked, where it's like, what big teams, what big stars do you have in the Pac-12?
No one stays up late to watch Pac-12 games.
Thanks, Brandon. But, I mean, the thing that I look at is the biggest thing that will help him is if he can bring Stanford to the tournament. If he brings them to the tournament, get that national eye on him, then that'll help his draft stock more than, he played well against the Pac-12, now he's going to the NIT.
You're the college guy. Is there a chance Stanford makes the tourney?
I mean, they could win the Pac-12. They're, anything is possible. The field is so big.
Being that Oregon's completely injured this year?
Oregon's completely injured. Lewis King right now hasn't been having the best start since coming off of his injury. And, I mean, Sean did mention, some of the other games, they lost against Wisconsin and lost against Florida, but that Wisconsin game was close. They took Kansas, who was the number 2 team, to overtime. Yes, I know they lost, but if they win enough of these conference games, and let's say they win the regular season crown, they win the tournament crown in the Pac-12, that could be enough. I just think that has to be the goal for
Interesting.
KZ.
You bring up Wisconsin, Florida. His 2 worst games on the year.
His 2 worst, but I mean,
going 2 of 12 from the field against Wisconsin, and just 1 of 5 against Florida.
And doesn't that show if he's not putting up 20 a game in the biggest games, they're not going to win? So I think that shows that he's important to the team.
Is he not a big time player when he's faced with top level competition?
Go look at Kansas, the number 2 team in the league. They took him to OT.
Yeah.
You look at it against
I'm just trying to make a case that.
I don't think that's it.
I like the guy a lot, and I'm trying to bring myself back down to reality, Sean.
And the thing with KZ is, I know Twitter is a interesting place, but just looking at some of the tweets from the UCLA game that happened yesterday, it's really hit or miss. There's some that's some team's going to be dumb enough to take KZ Okpala in the first round of the lottery. Then there's other ones feel like KZ Okpala will end up being the best NBA player out of all the guys in this UCLA Stanford game. So it's it's really you either love him or you kind of hate him. Where it's KZ is their best player. You've got other ones that are I don't care how bad the Pac-12 is. KZ Okpala's game is built for a modern NBA.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is if we'll see when the talent gets tested, most likely if he does make it to the title. And right now they lose to UCLA, and it was a 90 to 72 game, wasn't close. But again, you were mentioning, there's no killers in the Pac-12. They got USC coming up, Arizona State, Washington. Their toughest are probably going to be Arizona State, if we're talking historically. UCLA obviously just fired the coach, so it's not great that they lost to him, but I think we'll have to wait a little bit more once we get into conference play, because not only is he not going up against great competition, but he is conference play, and those games are always a little bit tougher. They are a little bit more heated. They're going to see you twice. What is he going to do against UCLA the next time? Is he going to be able to pop off again?
At home.
Exactly. So I think one thing too that's going to be big is how are you going to do the second time a team sees you? Are they going to be able to slow you down? That's a big thing that I think also plays into this that I'll be looking for KZ during conference play. Let's move to Jonte Porter. We're going to get rid of the Lakers. They need a center, pretty much. JaVale McGee's on a 1-year deal. We all go Daniel Gafford because Zubac is there, but again, how much mobility does he have? Tyson Chandler is also going to be possibly going to. You need some bodies to fill out there. Daniel Gafford, I mentioned it last time. Pretty athletic kid. I think that he's got a JaVale possible mold to grow into in some ways. So I think it would just be a natural fit, and he's probably the best talented player, at least at that position and available.
Most proven, at least.
For center. I mean, Jackson Hayes is there, but I think we'll talk about it a little bit in the 21 through 30. Let's just get to Jonte Porter. I have him going 16. Dave, you have him going 19. And then Ricky, you have him going 26. My thing with Jonte is this kid was a top 14 pick before he got injured, or before he went back into the draft. Pulled out of the draft last year. We had him late lotto, and then he pulls out because he wanted to go back to school, got injured. The talent is there, and in this draft class, I do not think you pass up talent. So if he's healthy, he's going to be probably pushing a lottery again because he was a lottery player last year. This is a worse draft. It's just deductive reasoning. I don't see a reason why he cannot be a lottery pick again. And I think when it comes to draft time, he will be pushing in that 17 to 12 range because, again, this is a kid that had talent, was showing it last year, and the biggest questions about him will be injuries. And obviously, you look at his brother's dealing with injuries, but it's
all
a different
of his sisters
injury.
and all those knee injuries as well.
But can you have genetically bad knees? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. So
my question is, he's the guy who notoriously came in out of shape and unathletic to the combine, now coming off of an ACL injury. I mean, does that not just completely scare you? Like, that's literally the reason, like, we went back because he had the worst, I think it was cone drill, like, ever. Like, he was so unathletic and short, angular movements. It was just, I'm just saying.
My thing right now is people deserve second chances.
Okay.
And if he does come in shape and he does come in motivated.
With an ACL injury, how well can you prep yourself?
No, for sure. But that's the reason why he's taking a whole season off. Yeah. So if he does come to that point and he does show that he is healthy, he does show that he's motivated, he does show that he took that time to grow as a person and as a player, I think he's going to be.
It was ACL and MCL, wasn't it, for Jonte?
Yeah, but I think it's still the same time length because typically if you tear one, you're tearing the other. Yeah. I think that's how that works. Obviously there can be solo ACL tears, but if you're tearing that part, they're so joined and connected that they end up both tearing or both being at least.
We need a doctor on this podcast.
They both being at least suffered.
For me, I look at it and, I mean, it's not all of like, yes, the whole thing that your entire family and that both of your sisters have had multiple knee injuries doesn't really help because I look at that and go, I wonder if it's just weak knees in that family. If it's just there's something in your genes going on. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I look at it when you say 12 to 17, 12 is way too high. I look at this knee injury and I go, for the position that you play, you know what? I wouldn't take you at 12. I would maybe take him 17 would be the highest that I would think about it.
Because at 12 right now we have Ball who is injured, who has questions about his health.
Because one's a knee, one's a foot. Like
173 who has genetically shown that is not able to add on muscle and might not be able to add on muscle at all, and 7'3" players have much more injury concerns than 6'11" players.
The ceilings are very different as well.
But also the floors are completely different.
Say Bobal's like healthy floors, like what, Boban?
And let's be honest, one of the
Boban level impact.
I'll speak for me. One of the only reasons
because of his health.
I had Ball at 12 is you look at the ceiling, look at the team I had him go to. The Celtics. They could take that risk.
Yeah, we all had that idea.
Yeah, if they weren't there, he wouldn't be going at 12. Like, he'd be falling even further if I didn't think, hey, the Celtics could take this risk. He would not be going to the Celtics, the Hawks, or the Celtics.
And I think
Pistons probably wouldn't take him.
But here's the thing. I think Jonte's less of a risk than Ball when it comes to health because 7'3" players do not hold up. They're fantastic to watch. They're special. But there's reasons why a lot of these 7-footers do not have mobility throughout their whole career. I mean, Shaq was one of the most mobile and dominant players, but there was a sign at 33, he starts slowing down. There's so much body pressure that you're putting on. Like, 7-footers are not able to be full-time athletes
and that's why
throughout their life because of how much they're carrying around.
Draft stock could continue to go down.
100%. And Jonte's not 7 feet.
I also never had Jonte as high as 12. Like, the highest I would have had him completely healthy right now would maybe be about 15. So, like, the middle of that range to that 17, where now it's like, okay, that injury, if he comes back healthy and has a great combine, then all of this is moot. But at this point, knee injuries run in your family, it seems. I would be nervous about taking him in the top 20.
I understand that. I understand that you can be worried about that. But I'm just saying, like, if he is healthy, he comes in motivated, I would not be surprised if he jumps up to 12. Because, again, I think that, Keldon Johnson, I think he's a more intriguing prospect. But if you're not looking for a 3, you're not looking for a 2-3 combo, then you're not looking at him. If you do not believe Sekou Demboya is going to be a true project, then you'll probably go with him. But it looks like Sekou is going to be a project. He's going to take time. He's going to need work and love. That's why we're giving him to the Celtics, because the Celtics have that ability to store someone overseas or at least work with him. We saw that with Gershon. Yabuzli. Yep. I was watching the Gordon Hayward highlights. I think they were saying it differently, so I started second guessing myself.
Yeah.
KZ, again, another project as well. Is he going to be a guy that can add on that? And is he a guy that's just performing against a weak schedule? We talked about that already. Jonte, if he comes in, he's shown that he can be a starter. Like, he has the ability to be a stretch four in this league, shoot from the outside, be athletic, be a guy that can just be an all-around
athletic
player.
Is questionable.
He's a safe player. He's a safe player.
And his shot's clean, and I absolutely agree. I think that, his floor is much better. I'm not super injury sucks, don't get me wrong, but I'm not super concerned with this being a consistent, it's in the family genes that he's always going to be injured. And so
I think it's interesting that has all happened.
It's
and maybe
really
there is something
unlucky.
there, but I do not have a medical degree. So
really unlucky in my mind. Yeah, that's why I think he's late lotto at best. I don't know that he will stand out, because last year, I looked at last year, I was like, yes, he got better as the year went on. Yes, he had a great shot from the outside, and a stretch four in the NBA, super valuable right now. But I don't know that it pushes into the point where a team is going to be like, I can see building around him, or I can see him being like a 3 on my team, a 2 or 3, kind of like,
Then I look, who can I build around? And I think that cutoff goes from Bol. If you look at mine, I think, even Hachimura is pushing building around. I think he's an intriguing prospect.
Right, but that's the state of this draft.
I do not think Keldon Johnson you could build around. Sekou Naboya, I'm not sure. KZ Akpala, I'm not sure. Dort, I am not sure. Gafford, Bassie, hell no. Naz Reid, I'd love if you could build around him. But Jonte, I think he might be the safest out of all of them. Because, again, he was putting up, 18 and 10 last year? Naz Reid isn't doing that on a worse team. Dort isn't doing that. Akpala isn't doing that. He brings something that some guys haven't brought, and he was a freshman doing that. So I think Porter does have a solid resume. If he's able to come in, produce, it's going to be interesting. Let's move now to the guys.
Jonte did not put up those numbers for the whole year, by the way.
Was it per 36?
His year average was 9, 6, and 2.
Really?
Yeah. He had a string of great games at the end against Vandy, Arkansas, Georgia, where each game he had 24. 24, 7 and 6, 19, 8 and 4, and 20, 8 and 2. He definitely played up at the right time of the year.
He only played 24.5 minutes per game, and I think his per 40 is 16, 11, and 4 pretty much.
Yeah, like I said, he played much better as the year went on.
My bad.
Yeah.
Also, last thing I do want to mention, this is from the New York Times. There was a study done at the Ohio State University and Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. Their study says their takeaway is to look at your family. If you have a first-generation relative, a sibling, or a parent who has torn an ACL, you are likely to be at an above average risk. So, yeah, it runs in the family.
No, that doesn't mean it runs in the family. It's not genetic. It just means you're at a risk.
And the risk happens. If they re-tore it, you'd be at an above average risk to re-tear that ACL. That's how I'm reading this scientific information.
It's one study.
Well, yeah, and I mean one study, but I mean
heart disease. We're not doctors.
What I would go into.
That's what I'm saying. We should not be talking about that.
Give me your prospects.
For who I want
to talk about?
Lewis King. For me, I'm high on him still.
I don't understand why. Tell me why I should be interested in this bum playing at Oregon who's not even playing.
Well, let's get the B word out of here. He's not a bum.
It's 95 degrees in here,
He's a guy
Ricky.
coming off of an injury that, yes, I am a little concerned that, in the, 8 games that he's played, he hasn't really popped off. And the best that he popped off was Omaha, where he had 11 points. I still like what he brings to the table. How I feel like he is going to be the Lonnie Walker of this draft class, which was injured early, eventually finds his footing by the late of the season come tourney time, gets drafted in the late lottery. Even maybe if he falls out of the lottery a little bit, that could happen as well. But he's a guy, I like what he brings to the table. I like his shot. I just wish he was putting it a little bit together now coming off of his injury. Mm-hmm. But it's only been 8 games since he started play on December 8th.
The Lonnie Walker thing is interesting. Obviously, a little bit different players because I think Lewis King is a little bit
He's
bigger.
6'9", yeah.
But Lonnie Walker, according to 24/7 Sports, he was a 16th ranked prospect coming out. Lewis King, 20. So around the same spot too, and obviously the injuries are similar. It's an interesting comparison to draw.
My question is, why is he so high unproven when a player, I know there's slightly different positions, but a player like Grant Williams, who I feel like has a similar skill set at a smaller position, is so much lower. But he's also performing at a much higher rate.
It's exactly what you said about Grant Williams to me off the
position?
podcast is not just position. He's an older player that doesn't know exactly what it is yet. And if I'm drafting at 13, I'm not wasting that pick on a Grant Williams. Whereas Lewis King, there's a little bit more potential for me to make that pick over a Grant Williams.
Just saying, Grant Williams is producing at a pretty great rate right now. And I'm not bought in on Lewis King, I guess. I've yet to be wowed by him. I don't think he has lottery or late lotto, like whatever talent. And I just think that I would be surprised if he goes before 20. And I don't know if he's a lock for the first round even at this point. Because he was injured. We've seen limited play. And in that limited play, I've been unimpressed.
And that reflects, at least in our opinions, as none of us had Lewis King in our you and I did not have him in our mock draft. So I think the risk is there. I think he's an intriguing prospect, and I think the Lonnie Walker comparison that you made, Ricky, is very intriguing because again, I don't know if he's going to be able to make that rise that Lonnie Walker did. But again, like seeing where they came out of high school, very similar. Seeing the injuries and seeing if he can make that rise, it's now making that next step. But I think it is a very interesting comparison. Dave, talk about your prospect.
My prospect, I don't even know who my prospect is anymore, man.
All right, I'll just take it and do Naz Reid real quick. Naz Reid is the greatest player of all time. He is a basketball god. Per 36, I don't think you guys ever seen numbers like this. 22 points per game, 10 rebounds per game.
So good.
2 assists per game, 1.5 blocks a game, and 1.5 steals. Name a time a player's ever done that. I'm just intrigued by him just because, again, this is a fairly weak draft class. I see the athlete in him. And like, obviously, you bring up the mention of not being able to be engaged in the game the whole time, but I think it is something that if he is engaged, I think he can be a really dominant player on the offensive end. Maybe not defensively ever, but we see guys like Cat, and I don't think he's ever going to be Cat level, but we see guys that have value offense only. Maybe like he turns into like an Urson in some ways. He turns into a guy like Marco Bellinelli in some ways. I think that he can be an offensive specialist because we saw him pop off for a ton of points before. And in one of their biggest games against Furman, he didn't get over 20 minutes. He started the game, only got 19 minutes. That's worrying. But if he is locked in and motivated, he has been able to show that he can dominate a game. So if he's able to grow, especially once we hit SEC time, they're going to start January 8th. Maybe we do see his game pick up. And there's going to be a stretch that I'm definitely interested in. Wednesday, February 6th, they play at Mississippi State. They're currently ranked. February 9th, they play versus Auburn. They're currently ranked. And then February 12th, they play at Kentucky. They're currently ranked as well. They also got Tennessee on February 23rd. So some interesting games that I will be intrigued in for him to go up against. Also, he's going to go up against good old Daniel Gafford on the 12th. So it's going to be interesting to see him take on a player that we do have ranked in our top 30. So that is going to do it. You have a guy, or you want to pass?
I mean,
on?
my guy was Bol Bol. Like, forgot that was even a thing before this thing. We discussed that. You guys just want your Bol Bol rant anyway. Jackson Hayes, I'll just give a shout out. Like, he's a very intriguing prospect right now. Just purely defensively, looks impressive at Texas. I think that's going to warrant a look from a lot of teams looking for a center who is a basically just going to be a monster defensively, can grab you boards. He doesn't have anything fancy to his offensive game. He barely has an offensive game, but that can develop in time. So I look at a team like the Celtics and be like, grab a spot at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
We'll teach you.
I like the pick.
Yeah.
I like the pick. I like the guy. I brought him in last time, and I'm glad to see that you guys saw what I saw in him to put him 1.0, and I'm glad that I see him at Ricky at 24 and alongside me with him going to the Warriors. But let's move into the final topic before we get to Ricky, Dave, and Mize 21 through 30. Just want to throw out, if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, stay up to date. Check us out, twitter.com/mostvaluablepod or at mostvaluablepod as well. You can talk to us. Hit us up in the DMs. I always got Jake talking to us. Our boy Bilal Chemis, or Negro Damas used to go by. Some people come here and there, so if you want to slide in to the DMs, at mostvaluablepod, talk draft with us. But let's jump in. Ricky, give us your 21 through 30.
So my 21 through 30, it always throws me off when we get this far down because you're like, give us your 1 through 10. I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot that we do that. But 21, the Blazer is going to take Dietrich Lawson forward from the Kansas Jayhawks. Then at number 22, Ty Lawson of the Duke Blue Devils. Trey Jones.
You said Ty Lawson.
Yep.
I
Brother
said Ty
hasn't played
Lawson.
Might as well be
Which is
Ty Lawson.
14 years of
Hey, man.
gone by. Since
I'll use
Ty
the
Lawson's
same
played it.
excuse you guys have. It's hot in here. But Celtics take Trey Jones from Duke. Then the Rockets at 23 going Killian Tilly from Gonzaga. Then Sean's boy Jackson Hayes, the center from Texas, going to the Warriors at 24. Then 25, the 76ers go Grant Williams, the forward from Tennessee. 26, Jonte Porter from Mizzou going to the Thunder. At 27, KZ Okpala from Stanford going to the Pacers. Then at 28, the Nets via the Nuggets go at Shamori Pons, the guard from St. John's. Jake, I got your back on that one. Then at number 29, the Spurs via the Raptors go with Bruno Fernando from Maryland. And the Bucks, they're going to end it out taking Iggy Brazdeikis, the forward from Michigan.
I don't know if it was right, but good try. Dave, 21 to 30.
Totes. At 21, I've got PJ Washington going to the Blazers. At 22, I've got Trey Jones from Duke going to the Celtics. 23, Lugan Stort, big faller. I don't know. I just fell out of love. He's going to the Rockets.
Dave just pushed him off the train.
Carson Edwards going to the Warriors at 24. At 25, I've got the 76ers taking Goga. Last name.
Batazde.
Batazde.
I think that's how we found it.
Yep. Goga Batazde going to the 76ers. Building that depth. At 26, I've got the Thunder going Admiral Schofield. At 27, I've got the Pacers going to kill Alexander Walker. At 28, I've got the Nets taking Grant Williams. 29, the Spurs taking Luka, not that Luka. And at 30, I've got the Bucks taking Iggy.
At 21, I have the Blazers going PJ Washington from Kentucky. 22, I have the Celtics going Kobe White from UNC. 23, I have the Rockets going Trey Jones from Duke. 24, I have the Warriors going Jackson Hayes out of Texas. 25, I have the 76ers going Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Virginia Tech. 26, Thunder going Carson Edwards from Purdue. 27, Pacers going Eric Paschal from Villanova. 28, Nets via the Nuggets taking Luka, not that Luka, Semantic. 29, Spurs via the Raptors going Matthias Thybulle. And then 30, Bucks going Admiral Schofield. That is not a made-up name for Matthias. We'll get to him a little bit later. We're talking Blazers, Rockets, 76ers in this round of teams. And then we'll do a couple prospects that we want to talk about just briefly at the end of it. Let's start off with the Blazers. We picked them because we said this is the team most likely to fall out of the 21 through 30 range, not only because they have the worst record right now and they're picking 21, but I think mostly it's because we didn't believe they were a playoff team before this season, and you have teams like the Lakers, the Spurs, even the Jazz down in the second tier, picking that could always rise up. So with the Blazers, do you think they need young talent to revitalize this team in any way? And if so, what position do you think they need to revitalize? I'll go to Dave first.
I believe they do. I believe they would benefit from adding young talent, especially at the 4 position, 3 or 4, honestly, either one of them. I have a fear the Blazers are going to take another combo guard just because that's their jam. They're really all in on that for whatever reason. I think we were a little disrespectful before the start of the season. We all made mention of it. It was like, look, they were the 3 seed last year in the playoffs, and we all were like, I don't know, just seems like they're going to shit the bed for some reason. Hasn't completed yet, but we'll still see to see if they fall back out of that range.
I mean, let's be honest. They were coming off of that terrible playoff series.
Well, they got embarrassed.
Well. That was the last thing that we saw in our minds coming into this year.
That fully.
Well, and don't we always say that good old, what's his name? Now I'm blanking on the head coach's name. Terry Stotts. He's a great regular season head coach and always chokes in the playoffs.
Poop the bed. But I absolutely love the fit here. I think that this is the right guy for them as long as they stay in the right range, within 4 or 5 picks probably. I think that PJ Washington is an absolute stud for them. He's a second-year player at Kentucky. You don't see those too often. And he has definitely benefited from that second year. He is an aggressive shot blocker, great rebounder, and I think the limited minutes and this really focusing on his own skill set to get better and be a high impact player in those limited minutes definitely has increased his draft stock. And also I could see his fit so much cleaner in the NBA right now than we could a year ago, even going up to just at the end of the tournament for Kentucky. I have really a lot of concerns about him. This has been a great turn for him, and he's even improved his shot in the offseason as well, shooting a respectable number from 3. Not a high volume guy, but enough to make them be honest.
No, I agree, and that's why I have him going in the same position as well, going to the Pacers, the Blazers. You look at that team. Obviously, they have Nurkic. They have Zach Collins. Those guys are obviously Nurkic is going to be on that team for a while. Collins is a burgeoning,
hope so.
budding star.
Yep.
You feel like.
Oh, yeah.
But if not, a guy like PJ Washington doesn't really put too much pressure on Zach Collins, but I think he does at least take pressure off of him, which I think is good because PJ, so far, I've liked the position and the growth that you have seen from him, but I think he also does bring a little bit of a different game than you see from Zach Collins. Zach Collins, very hyper athletic, an extremely talented kid, hasn't really gotten that 3-point shot down yet, but you look at PJ Washington, he has that ability to stretch out, still bring athleticism, still bring some passing to his game as well. And I think he brings a nice change of pace. They're both still athletic. They can both still spell each other, but still a little bit of a different game. But I think a crossover is similar enough where there's not too much of a drop-off. Like, not one of them is going to be super great offensively and the other's super great defensively. I think there's an overlap enough, but if you need more of an outside shot coming from that 4 position, you can put PJ Washington in over Zach Collins, and he's more of a 4 than Zach Collins is.
I will do anything to give Myers Leonard less minutes.
Yes.
And this is the right step in the right direction.
Also, probably, I keep saying that Evan Turner is the worst contract, or maybe John Wall is the worst contract in the league. Myers Leonard might be the worst contract in the league. I always end up forgetting about him just because he is pointless. But literally 4 years, $41 million. Myers Leonard should not be making $10 million a year. Like, it's just simple. Like, I think I could probably do a better job as a center that he can, and I'm 5'8". Like, I would be trashed. I know. It's hot. I don't care. Hot takes, hot room. But whatever. It's a bad contract. Ricky, you have them going with Dietrich Lawson, though. A new face.
Yeah, and I mean, I just like Dietrich Lawson. I know the first thing you're going to say is Ricky, but he's terrible from beyond the arc. Like, he is shooting in college a 17.4% from beyond the arc, and he's only putting up like 2 attempts per game. But I love everything else about him. He's a guy that's averaging double-digit rebounds. He's going after blocks and steals, gets at least one of those a game. He can score on the inside. He's an 80% clip from the foul line. He's a guy that I like a little bit better than like a PJ Washington. However, this team, I'm going to be honest, it might be better draft. Like, it's a double-edged sword because obviously they look to be a playoff team. So obviously you want to stay in this range that we have, the bottom range for the draft, to be in the playoffs. But if they did slide a little bit into our second segment and not our third segment, there may be some threes available that they could go with. Like, if they fell and were able to get a Brandon Clark over a Dietrich Lawson, I would say that would be a little bit better. Or if, let's say, Lewis King falls and they're able to get a Lewis King at like 17 through 20, maybe 18 through 20, that might serve them better than going with a 4 just because they're in this part of the draft and there's not a ton of threes here at this part. In my mind, it's mainly like some guards and then, boom, a lot of bigs.
And that's typically what it is. I mean, when you're this low, you really don't see those skill positions like 3s, 3-and-Ds. It was the same thing last year.
Yeah.
You really don't see 3-and-Ds. It's usually like, smaller guards that are trying to make their way, combo guards that are a little bit older, or just young bigs that really don't have any other skills outside of being big and pretty athletic. And I think that P.J. Washington and possibly Dietrich Lawson kind of walk that fine line of maybe being those final skill positions that do go outside of, maybe Eric Paschal, Luka, or even Schofield. But Schofield, again, is more of like a 2. But let's move now to the Rockets at 23, team that is, skyrocketed, not to be corny, because of James Harden's performance all the way up to the 24 spot. Looking at this team, Ricky, you have him going with a forward center. Dave and I both have him going guards. Why do you have him going with the center? Because
the guy you had him go with went right before him. It's that simple. Like the thing that is interesting, and of course this is going to be like, well, duh, Ricky. The last time we did a mock draft,
just to throw out, it was Trey Jones that went before him.
Trey Jones.
So if Trey Jones is here, you have him going Trey Jones.
Yeah, the Rockets were not good. They were 9th overall in our first mock draft. Now they've played themselves back into the playoffs. They're in this range of 23, and I feel like with the Rockets, I would go Trey Jones if he was available because Chris Paul's health. Like, he's always injured. You need somebody that you could develop and be like, yeah, we've got a competent point guard behind him. But, like, other than that, it's just take the best player available. And I didn't go Jackson Hayes because I didn't think like they needed a 5. Jonte Porter, if he was healthy and I had no questions about his health, probably would have been here, but I have questions about those. KZ, you could make a debate for, but I'm not super high on KZ right now. So that's why I go with a guy. Yes, he hasn't played yet this season due to injury, but add a big on this team, one that you're probably going to put at the 4 at the next level in Killian Tilly.
Well, Dave, Ricky obviously brought up the idea of Chris Paul's health, and that's why you're looking to spell him. Also, not Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Knight's contract coming up. What did you want to say about Eric Bledsoe?
Eric Gordon.
Oh, Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
Well, his contract isn't coming up this year. I think he's got one more year after this. But Brandon Knight is as well. So you're obviously looking to add guard depth. So that's why I went with Trey Jones. I'm guessing that's why I went with Dort. Before I ask you about Dort, what position do you think they should be looking at to fill out depth-wise? Because I think Ricky's onto something with the 3 spot.
I think the 3 is an obvious need, but I don't know that there's anyone on my board who I'd be happy to fit for their system. Like for me, it ends up just because of best available player, I had Dort falling heavily. So at this point, I was like, oh, well, we've got Eric Gordon, who's basically our 3rd best player. You know, you can make your argument for Clint Capella. That's fine. He plays amazingly. But, like, 3rd best scorer on this team. And I think they need to have guard depth because of Chris Paul's injuries, Eric Gordon's injuries, and then Harden when he runs out of steam. So, like, for me, it's like, let's just put another guy in there who can ball handle. But I would agree with you. If there's a guy fit-wise for this Rockets team who's a 3 or a 4, who you just need great defense and someone who can shoot from the outside comfortably, I would agree. That's an absolute need for this team. And moving forward, like they were hoping to get something out of Marquise Chris, but that man, I'm sorry, just don't play basketball. Like, I know you know what a basketball is,
Myers Leonard
but
range?
like, he knows what a basketball is. And then when he's on the court, he generally knows what direction to go in.
Before we go that, what about Admiral Schofield then? Because I know he's 6'5", he's more of a guard, but he obviously is a big dude. He's a great defender, puts his heart into everything defensively, and could shoot from the outside. Are you interested in him at all for the Rockets?
I think he definitely is worth taking a flyer, but for me, I had someone in Dort who was available, so that's why I moved him over. But yeah, Schofield has an interesting skill set and size, and like when you watch him, it's super fun. He's one of those guys who's just like he lays it all out on the court for them, and I am weirdly loving Tennessee a whole lot more than I expected to be going into this year. But yeah, both he and what's his name, Grant Williams, awesome. They're both awesome, and I think that their success continuing throughout the season means both their stocks continue to move up.
And I mean, that's another thing of why I'll go back to Tilly for a second. Of yes, he's an older player, and I know that there's a lot of like it's a stigma against older players. Like, oh, you're 20.
Also against Gonzaga players.
I mean, and Gonzaga players as well. Thank you, Adam Morrison. But I mean, he's a guy that even last year shot 47, almost 48% from 3, shooting almost 3 a game. He can hit well above almost 60% from the field, can rebound, can score. And I look at what the Rockets need, and yes, a 3 could help them. That's what they would have gotten if they were still at 9 like they were in our first mock. But right now I'm looking at their contracts, and the 2 power forwards, Marquise Chris, he's going to be off the books next year. He's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah,
and then that means you've got Isaiah Hartenstein as your only power forward.
He's actually
along with Clint Capella and Nene, who are listed at center. So it's like, that's why to me, hey, maybe go with a 4 here because you might really need that come draft time.
They're getting good contributions from Clark and Enos right now, but they definitely, wing depth is a crutch. So... Sean,
if we do go to Summer League, though, I think my number 1 player that I want to watch would be Hartenstein because I think he's got one more year.
He's going to dominate it.
Dude, he was so fun last year.
I know.
I want to watch him. But I think that's a good point about Tilly, and maybe it does kind of screw him a little bit if they do fall that way. But hey, if they do end up like falling a little bit after Harden, but they still stay in the playoffs, they might be a team that takes a shot at Sekou if he's available. I think that'd be interesting just because he has the ability to move the ball. He has that size for a 3. Obviously, he's not as polished as a guy like Kevin Hachimura or even a Keldon Johnson or an RJ Barrett, but definitely someone that would be interesting to see how they would be able to develop him because he was a guy that people thought he was the number 1 prospect coming in. He's obviously taken a fall, but. Something interesting. Why is Dort taking a fall? Anything specific or just not the flavor of the week?
Poor performance.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks straight of poor performances. I can pull it up for you.
Yeah, I know he hasn't been performing well, but I didn't know if that was the main reason or if there was anything else. Like, I know you were so high on him after the article, and maybe you just kind of fell off of him because you just saw something, or if it was just the performance.
It's lack
drop.
of consistency, because if you go throughout the season, I overlooked it early because it was small sample size. I was like, okay, cool. But when you go 9 of 22, cool. 10 of 18, awesome. 4 of 13, all right, shit. 6 of 17, still not ideal. Taking a lot of shots, and I understand that's being pushed on him. 10 of 15, great game. 6 of 18, all right. 5 of 12, all right. 9 of 19, all right. 2 of 10, 3 of 13, 3 of 14, 1 of 8. That right there was like, oh, we have no consistency in our scoring.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he get to the line? Yeah, he absolutely gets to the line still. He still knows how to use his body. That's why I probably bounce too far down, and he'll rebound back to that mid-range again. But it's him forcing up shots and trying to draw contact constantly. James Harden-esque.
That's what I was going to say. Could you imagine
me.
those two playing next to each other? It'd be the most boring game of basketball I've ever seen in my life.
I don't care, because it'd be great. Like, he plays great aggressive defense on people. He uses his size well. It's the scoring that bugs me, and it's the lack of consistency. So I like to see him really center himself in, take some smarter shots, and honestly, they just need to. I feel like they put the scoring all on him, and I get it. Arizona State, you are Dort's team at this point, but he needs contributions elsewhere so he doesn't get forced into all these bad shot attempts.
For sure. Let's move now to the 76ers, both for Jake, but also this is a team that is, big three heavy. Obviously, there was the news about Jimmy Butler yelling at Brett Brown today, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Not too heavily, though.
Everybody yells at everybody.
But one thing that they are lacking is depth. So how are you guys trying to look to fill that depth? What do you see? At least what I see is T.J. McConnell is a good NBA player. He definitely deserves a spot. But when he's your first guard coming off the bench, that becomes worrisome. If he's your 12th guy, he's your 11th guy, he's your 9th guy, I think that's a good spot for him. He's a guy that can contribute very well. I don't think he hurts the team. I don't think he propels the team to a playoff spot, but I think he does contribute very well to a team. But you need to look at that guard spot, and Markelle isn't locked up. There isn't solid contributors there. Nicky Alexander-Walker obviously is the cousin of Shai Gilgeous. I see a ton of the similarity in their games. Big guard. It would give teams a ton of problems if they're trotting out him, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, and even throw in forgetting half the team right now because it's so damn hot in here.
It's cool.
But those 4 players with their wingspan, their athleticism, will be tough to score on. So I think that adding Nicky Alexander-Walker, another ball handler, but he can also show, so far he's been able to show his scoring ability as well.
It's improved, yeah.
So I think Nicky Alexander-Walker would add that depth that you need for the 76ers, add some scoring depth off the bench, but then also could step into the starting lineup and help this team trying to just fill out when they need it. Because, again, so far they're super top-heavy. They need to fill out that depth. They'll do it in free agency, hopefully. They'll do it through trades. But if you're going to do it through the draft, I think Nicky Alexander-Walker also having some experience, I think would definitely benefit coming out of that team. The only player that I would look at as well to help you out would be Carson Edwards, because that kid can score.
You don't like Shamet? I think Shamet's performing pretty well.
But someone to run that second unit outside of TJ.
Okay.
So that's my thing.
You need a primary ball handler. Okay.
Yeah, and Shamet isn't consistent.
No.
Like, he's not a guy that's going to be doing every single night. Same with Furkan. I think that you need more of a consistent player. And Nicky Alexander-Walker, he's not he's not running. He's not going to be putting up 30 a night, like back-to-back games, but he is consistently running at like a 16 to like a 25 to an 11 to a 16 to a 25 to 11. He's keeping a very consistent pace, and I do like that. I think you do need some consistency in that backcourt for the 76ers.
If only the 76ers, had a player that they might have drafted in the top 3 that could run a second unit.
Yeah, Ben Simmons really needs to learn how to do that.
Out there. I mean, for me, this team, there's so much shakeup for next year because, J.J. Redick, is he going to be back? Is he going to take a lesser contract to come back? I am leaning towards no. So with me next year, Ben at the 1, move Jimmy to the 2, or even have is Zaire when he comes back? Is he going to play his way into the starting lineup? Then it's move Jimmy to the 2, Wilson Chandler.
Winston, we got another
Winston Chandler.
To me, the 4 is the weakest spot because the only true 4 you have on this team is Mike Muscala.
Ben Simmons.
That's the only that's the only true one. No, Ben Simmons is a point guard to me, Dave. I know
Isn't Moose on a 1-year deal too?
He could be. I think he's under contract next year. No, you're right. He's unrestricted free agent.
They plan their team around free agency.
It's like, for me,
Johnson two's a 4.
That's why I mentioned. I go ahead and mention, like, hey, Grant Williams is go and get the best 4 that I have on the board. Might have been Jonte Porter if he was healthy, but no, it's Grant Williams and what he can do for this team just to maybe soak up some minutes at the 4, because you don't need him to be a high scoring option because you got Ben, Jimmy, and Joe.
I think that you're not too far off. I think Grant, I don't know if he's a 3 or 4 yet. Honestly,
either or, because
somewhere between
Wilson Chandler's playing
6'8",
some of the 4 right now and can play the 3. So it's like,
you just a wing. His outside shooting consistency we'll have to see, but obviously he's a do-it-all kind of guy. So I like that fit on that team. I think he would definitely help them. Jonte available. I'm surprised that you didn't go Jonte there. I think that he kind of would help space that offense right back out to where it needs to be. They're definitely missing that from moving Dario out of town, and
I could have easily went KZ as well.
I'd say KZ as well. Like, it's just your rankings. I respect that. For me, I want center depth because every time Joe is off the floor, they're getting wrecked. Like, Joe is making a case, like a quiet case, unless you're in Philadelphia, for like defensive player of the year and then probably top 10 voting for MVP. Like, what he's putting together is impressive, and I think that if you go out and get Goga, a guy who young, still developing, but has really good upside and plays such a physical game for his size, I like him, and I think he would work perfectly as a backup center for them. And I am just going for depth because I think they're going to fill in that starting lineup with free agency. I think they're just looking. Draft is all about that depth. Get that second unit. Get me somebody who can contribute. I look to see Goga being able to do that sooner rather than later.
He's an interesting prospect just because, and this is no slight to him, but I'm pretty sure the last center to come out of Georgia, his country, was good old Papagiannis. I think it was Georgios. I think Georgios was Greek, but I think he was from Georgia though. I'm not entirely sure. Could be making it up, just for a joke.
Somebody spot check that. We'll check it.
But I think with the Sixers, like, they need just depth, and wherever you can find it. I think going international would be tricky, and going with a player who doesn't know his position again could be tricky. I think you need to go with somebody who can contribute right away for that team because they're going to be a playoff team. They're looking for depth. They're looking for immediate impacts. If they had Zaire, he would be forced into that spot
we just
right
don't
away.
know yet.
When Fultz is able to play, they're going to force him in right away. They need depth on that bench. They need to try people out, and I think someone who can step in right away will be big. That's why Grant Williams is interesting. Goga is just one guy. It's like the potential might be there, and it's a good pick for his ceiling. But again, I think stepping in right away is going to be huge for.
I mean, they can, like I said, they can even float him international for another year and wait and see it. I really think that this team is built around the free agency upcoming year. Like, that's their plan. Is they made it very clear their contract situation is what it is, so they can afford everything they need to. So, draft is just bonus, and if they float a player internationally, I'm fine with that. They've done that every year in the past.
And you said you thought Papagiannis was born in Georgia? Is that what you were saying?
I don't know. I think
he was born in Greece. I looked at it.
I know he was born in Greece, but I think he had like I don't want to.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no. All the best and the 2 leagues he did play in were both the Greek league.
All right. I was just wrong. My bad.
Georgian basketball.
We're gonna go to you first, Ricky, for a player that you want to talk about because we're talking about the 76ers. We're talking about Jake, his favorite college team, or his dad's favorite college team is St. John's. So give us the Shamori Ponds update.
Like, this is a guy that Shamori Ponds in my first mock draft I was not giving love to. But I looked at it and I looked at what he's able to do. He's one of those that falls in the KZ Okpala thing that I mentioned earlier. If he can play St. John's into the tournament or into on the bubble, I will even say. Like, if ESPN, CBS, if they're talking about St. John's late in the year of possibly being a tournament team, then that's going to be good for him because that is going to get the spotlight on him. I feel like we talked about the cliff, like how it's Ja and then everybody else. He could be one that later on that a team like the Nets, who might need some point guard help to go along with D'Lo, could go, hey, we're going to go with Ponds. He's going to be the guy to run our second unit off the bench when D'Angelo Russell is basically on the bench and not on the floor because that's how it works.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
And, well, you got Dinwiddie. He got paid, but I mean,
but he'll be running the second unit, bro.
I mean, there's
unless they get rid of D'Lo.
Unless D'Lo gets rid of, but hey, anything can happen.
Also-
You get another young guard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario.
Who's your
That's
player?
fair. I'm going Luka, not that Luka. He's a Euro prospect. That's sort of my game around here. I feel like I have to continually bring
You're the Euro guy? Is that it?
Have I not been?
No, I'm just saying, like, you're the Euro guy
Outside
of the
of
podcast.
Luca, who?
Dave only likes Lucas. That's it.
You also
He's
like
a Luka guy.
Rodions, but I think I
Yeah,
was
I
the
say
first
it.
person to put him in a mock draft.
We'll have to spot check that one. But yeah, I was a pretty big fan of Rodions. I'll have to go back years past, but I feel like I bring the Euro hype. Basically, he's a stretch four, face up four. He looks to have a solid offensive game. Defensively, room to grow, but it's just, for me, I like the fit. I like putting him there on that Spurs team. You're looking for someone who can kind of grab the reins. We'll see what happens with the contract. We got one more year of, and I already forgot his name. He's a freaking all-star, LaMarcus Aldridge. You got one more year of LaMarcus Aldridge, so that way you can kind of figure out, like, where's Luka's timeline at the four for the Spurs team? Is he going to be, a backup for a couple more years, and you want to continue? Maybe the DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge experiment goes great when you add in a true point guard and you get back Lonnie Walker. He actually, first game of the year was last night, I think. So we'll have to see. I think they're a team that would be happy to take another international player, because that's just the Spurs, but also a face at four if it's exactly what they need moving forward, because David Bertrand's, well, a good shooter from the outside, and they've developed the hell out of him. I just don't know that he's the guy who can fill those shoes from LaMarcus. So I look to Luka being a high upside, longer term project kind of guy, but I also think he can contribute at an early level.
For sure, but also one thing, too, to help that argument, Gasol has been helping him stretch the floor a little bit, too.
Yeah.
And he's most likely been gone this year. They might move LaMarcus back to the 5, and then
Potentially,
that opens up a spot at the 4. I got 2 guys. I'm pulling a Ricky Widmer. I got Kobe White from UNC, and I got Matthias Thybulle from Washington. Love both their games. I'll talk about Kobe White first. Half the reason why he's on there is because of his hair. Dude is rocking the best fro in college basketball right now. It is Jared Allen level-esque. He's not 7 feet tall. He is 6'5", but the dude you could spot him right away with his hair. It is baller as fuck.
Yep.
Him rocking this afro. It's killer. The moment he shaves it, he's falling out of my
number one
draft.
reason, fro. Number 2 reason, Kobe.
No, it's better than a Kobe fro.
No, I'm just saying his name is
name
Kobe.
is Kobe.
The number one reason to
but
take him
no,
is because of his fro.
it's
the number 2
C-O-B-Y.
doesn't matter. It's still Kobe. What's the number 3 reason?
Number 3 he's good at basketball.
Oh, he's good.
That's a pretty good one, right?
Wow, that's you can't argue with those 3 results.
Yeah, he's pretty good at. He's a smart pick and roll player.
Yeah.
I like him not only passing the ball, but he's got a good mid range shot as well, and he's got a good floater game. So just immediately pick and roll player. I love that. That's my favorite game to watch, and part of the game to watch. And you look at the Celtics, if they're getting rid of Scary Terry, they need a scorer, and I think he has shown a little bit of a budding scoring game. He's not a massive passer. He's not a guy that's dropping like 8 assists a game. He has had one game where he's had 8 assists, but he's not massively dishing out the ball for UNC. He does like to shoot, and typically averaging around 10 a game. 10 shots a game and around like 4 assists a game. So I do like his ability to score. He does get to the line fairly often as well. So I think adding a second scorer, at least a scorer off the bench for the Celtics could be something they're interested in, and especially looking at the picks they've made so far. Bol, Demboya, Naz Reid, they needed to get a guard in there at some point, and I think Kobe White can be a guy that does add that. And then finally, the last pick, it's the Spurs going with another defensive guard. I love this kid. I liked him when he was playing with Markelle Fultz. I liked him when he was playing with...
the Markelle Fultz team where he won, 6 games?
Yeah, but then I also liked him when they were ranked because he was also on the team with good old DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
And good old guy who just trashed...
I've trashed a lot of players tonight. It's 95 degrees. We've been here for 5 hours.
This guy in the Rockets... bad at basketball, really bad at basketball. Marquise Chris. He was on that team with Marquise Chris. Matthias Thybulle has been playing with the Huskies since 2015, 2016. I've been watching him a ton. He has the highest steal rate, I think, in college basketball, highest block rate. He is averaging 2 blocks a game, 3 steals a game as a 6'5" guard forward. The guy can play defense, and he's got a pretty decent shot from 3. It's not consistently great. Like, he shot 36% in his freshman year, then sophomore year shot 40%, then 36%. His junior year. Then he's shooting 31% from three his senior year, but he's also improved his free throw shooting 71%, 84%, 71%, 90%, and on his career he's shooting 76%. So I think the shot is there. It's not super consistent as shown through the bouncing times throughout the year, but I think he can be a pretty good guard off the bench. I don't think he'll ever be a starter. But I've seen comparisons to Danny Green at the top end and then like Wesley Iwundu in the bottom end. I think that he could be a pretty decent 3-and-D player, a guy that, on an NBA championship team would be a fan favorite just because he does everything for your team, plays hard, really like Matthias Thybulle. Hopefully I'm saying that name right, but I think it is Matthias Thybulle, Matisse, and then Thybulle, Thybulle, and that's spelling with Sean. Mm-hmm. So, any final thoughts?
I think it'd be intriguing to see if a guy who has that much seasoning in college goes in the first round. Usually don't see that too often, but four-year player in college going at the top or going in the first round. I know obviously there's
Buddy
been
Hield?
Yeah, I'm saying there've been cases, but it's not often.
I'm just wondering, like the last guy to do it
Probably is
to
Buddy.
come out. Maybe was it Buddy Hield? All right, I'll just look through.
There's
the last
probably
drafts.
like a ton. I'm just way off. I just feel like
Well, it is like 29, and I think that most likely he's going to end up being a second-round player. But I just do like him, and I just wanted to talk about him. So I threw him
that's
in
totally
there.
fair.
So
Totally fair.
Ricky, final thoughts?
My final thoughts is I was looking at St. John's schedule. Not only do they play Duke this season, which will be fun to see what Pons does against them. If we really wanted to see Shamori Pons, just saying, they're coming to Duke, or not Duke, they're coming to DePaul on March 3rd. So we can go see some St. John's versus DePaul if we want to, right before the conference tourneys start at the end of conference play.
Grayson Allen was a senior. Chandler Hutchison was a senior.
So tons. I'm just way off.
Javon Carter was a senior, but he was second round. And thank you for that notice about Shamori Pons. Be interesting to see him play, but also I don't know if I want to see some St. John's basketball. No offense to St. John and the Rough Riders, the Red Raiders, the Red Storm. It was close. Anyways, that's going to do it for the Fast Break podcast. If you haven't already, please rate us 5 stars. I don't know why, though. It's been a long time, a very long podcast.
Long time
a
ago.
lot of arguments, a lot of circles that we ran
Earlier
through.
in the night.
And if you are here listening to me talk,
Gold star.
first person to hit me up on Most Valuable Pod on Twitter who listened to the end of this, I'll Venmo you $1. I'll Venmo you $1.
What do you got put in there so they have to send you a secret code? What's the secret code word? So you got to know that they actually listened all the way through.
Spelling with Sean.
No.
No.
You have to spell the word Poughkeepsie right.
Ooh.
Poughkeepsie. First try. You get one try.
Just Google it.
I couldn't do it on the fly, I'll be honest.
What if you Google the wrong thing? No. Okay, fine.
They can just Google it and send it to you.
You have to text me. You have to DM me.
Slide into them DMs.
Slide
into
into
DMs.
them DMs.
Yep.
Of the right spelling of where that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of a way of the spelling where. You have to spell it right.
Okay.
No, there. We'll do there. There's much easier. All right?
There's
All right?
more of them.
Exactly. So there. You have to slide into the DMs at Most Valuable Podcast with the right spelling of there that I am thinking of. All right?
Okay.
That's the deal. And
I
you
look
get
forward to this.
You got $1 on Venmo.
Dave, I look forward.
Anyways, that's going to do it for something. Fast Break Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you're, again, listening so far, give us 5 stars on iTunes. It's been a very long time. I am overheating and probably going to die. I'm going to go get some water. For Dave Oster, that's Ricky Widmer. I'm Sean Anderson. See you next time.